Oh, the wing is drying up just about as good as I could have ever expected. I hope you like the little outtakes from the SpitFire Reno videos. There's just something about them. I never get sick of watching them. I never get sick of looking for some ideas for the future here. And you never, in case of Joe and I, you never do know what those ideas are going to be. And who would have ever thought, oh, 5 or 6 years ago that we would have done these Ferrari planes? But hey, you get these ideas, doesn't matter where you get them. What's important is that you do get them. And it's time we can finish our coffee and get to work here.
Now, just to give you an idea of how bad the winds were the other day when we were trying to paint, this is a local, one of the trees that made the front page of the paper. We had a rough day trying to paint. Today should be a little bit better. I'm not sure. But the plan here was to get up real early this morning, try to beat the wind. We're not trying to beat the rain here. Mr. I don't even know what we're going to call him, Enzo the Rooster here. Enzo's helping us get up early in the morning, because otherwise in another hour or so the wind is going to start blowing and we want to get some silver on these parts. And this is what we were picking up branches all morning, trying to clean up the yard to just keep it from looking like a dump. It was some windstorm. Oh, we got to fix our pond cover today. Oh, we got a load of stuff to do this morning. Good thing I got up early. Enzo the Rooster woke me up good and early this morning. And while we're doing all this repair work, today's the day they're going to pick up Miss Ashley. He's headed out to San Francisco, California to be with Elliott Scott and help his upcoming assault on the World Championship of Model Aviation. And we expect the guy to be here sometime this morning to pick that up. By the way, we found out Woody was the one made the box. A good job, and something we'll probably use over and over again. Alright, so you got some of your outdoor work done. What's next? What's Karen doing? I smell cupcakes. Here we go. I smell cupcakes. She's making something here. Now, we found out a really good trick. Whenever we're going to paint, you just bake something in the house and you don't smell the Brodak dope. It's great. Look at this. Oh my God. So I'm getting some value from my kitchen aid. So while we're downstairs working, believe me, the house will be permeated by cupcakes. Am I getting my money's worth out of this artisan cake mixer?
Cake mix for the son's birthdays.
This
is going to be cupcakes.
This weekend, our son and son-in-law are celebrating their birthday.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to buy them a Rojet, but Karen said I'll bake them cupcakes instead.
That's what they want. They want cupcakes. Not
they don't want a Rojet? Can you imagine?
No, they want cupcakes.
So this is what's happening in our shop. It's just completely crazy. There's 100 things going on at once, and we still have a couple loads of garbage over at the other house before we can start showing it. But our distraction from all of it, the thing that makes me get through the week, working on the SpitFire. And you may think it's not a significant thing to have this heating vent going, but boy, this dope is drying up nicely. The wind hasn't kicked up yet, and I think the first thing we're going to have to do here, number one job today, is going to be to get some silver on these parts. And just like we did on a stab and elevators, we're just going to keep working on it until we see the silver is as good as we can get it. We also heard from Dave Midgley last night that he, through his friend at Welch Fluorocarbon, is going to run us the canopies. We thought we were going to have John Brodak run them, but turns out Dave is going to be able to get that done, hopefully within a week, and maybe by that time we'll have our wing in silver, and Joe and I will be doing cockpit details. But it's a crazy, hectic time of year, but I wouldn't want it any other way.
I'll tell you, I really do enjoy looking at those little SpitFire outtakes. Always inspirational. Hope you enjoy them too. And now it's time to get busy. I just have my end of my coffee.
look at some of the pictures, check out some of the SpitFire videos, go consult with the rooster, but it's time. It's time. And it's the time I wait for every day, get working on the SpitFire. Okay, the pond cover is fixed. We're filling up the compressor, ready to spray some silver on these parts. Next coat of silver. Well, at least the sun is out, and it looks like we may have beat the breeze, but I don't know. It's already starting to come up. We really did have quite a storm the other day. Let's see, we're going this way today. Yeah, unbelievable with this wind. But we want to get on a coat of silver. One thing good when the breeze is blowing like that, you don't have to worry that you're going to breathe any paint fumes. So that's gone with the wind. The sun is really in our favor as far as looking at. I can see the little mistakes that I'm going to have to fill in, and I can get a little bit of extra material on them, a little bit of extra silver. So probably for the next week or so, we're going to be sanding, silvering, sanding, silvering. And for the people that do not enjoy this kind of finishing, well, and I know there are some. Now, since I'm going to be using this coat like filler, I'm not being real careful about how I get it on. I just want to get a lot on. Just like putting on a coat of filler. I want to be sure that when this dries out, you're able to sand it out. And I'll probably even be able to get some silver on the wing here, I hope, before the wind really comes up. Well, we're waiting for the truck company to pick up the plane for Elliot, and the rooster is waking us up early, and Karen's making cupcakes. It's a pretty exciting time of year. I don't know. As Joe Adamusco said, yeah, when the end you're juggling a time bomb and a blowtorch, and yeah, we really are. But I guess that's the fun. Now here's what I wanted to show, and I finally found it. Down at this end is that real bad dry spot. So I'm going to try to just get on some extra material there. Let that dry. I'm not really sure. Oh, the sun is in. Boy, that. We're going to try to rush this a little bit because I can feel the breeze already starting to come up. You know, and as I say this, and I'm laughing about it, but it's not funny, I can already feel the breeze starting to come up. And you would think the wind is only a factor when you're flying. Huh? Not really. Again, I'm putting this on like it's filler coat. It's going to all get sanded off. We may even get it sanded off this afternoon once we catch up with the shop little projects that we're working on. And I just think back to those SpitFire videos when I first got them. I used to watch them constantly in the shop, and to the point I almost had them memorized. And I never get sick of watching them. Never get sick of hearing those Merlins and Griffins and the radials spool up. Now this is actually going to be, when this is done, this will be a coat of filler. Now this flap doesn't really have any dry spots. The other one does, though. Trying to get a lot on the edges. But with the sunlight really works as your friend here. You can really see things, see little imperfections that you normally, oh here, as I say it, there's one right there. And now that may have saved me one whole coat of sand out, even out there. Because when I see these little spots, there's one up there. Without the sun, I would not be able to see them. Now even a little spot and the little pieces that we have, it's always that same thing, looking for dry spots, put extra material there, let it dry, sand it out again, and at some point in time there will be no dry spots. And then when we've reached that pinnacle, we know we have exactly the minimum amount of material under the substrate, and we don't have that 2 or 3 or 4 extra ounces of material randomly scattered all over the plane. Now I think the wing is really ready for the first coat of silver, but I'm going to go over and eyeball it up, check it out. Again, all this silver is going to get sanded out, so it doesn't really matter at this point in time. And when we put on what will be a final coat of silver, obviously we'll try to get it as thin as possible and lay it down as nice as possible and not shoot it on a day when the wind is blowing 100 miles an hour here. Now what I'm really hoping is the wind is coming up. I can't believe it. I'm really putting a little bit of a rush on because the wind is going to ruin my day here very soon. I want to get a coat of silver on that wing, and I got to get it up by a heating vent to dry. That's goal 1. Now I'm always prepared for a big disappointment. This wing looks so nice down in the shop, but I know there's a reality. As soon as I put this silver on, I'm going to find all kinds of mistakes. Oh, the wind is coming up. I don't believe it. Look at the wind blowing this stuff away. Now I'll always try to get a little bit extra on the tissue and on the cap strips. A little bit extra on the leading edge. Don't have to be real fussy about getting it on in terms of getting a nice thin coat on, because we're going to sand this all off. I want to show this one panel here. What's going to happen is and I'll do the center of this last. Now that's right up to where the glass and double tissue end. Now I want to go right around the edges of the open bays. I want to get some extra on the leading edge. And now I want to look for, there's a dry spot right there. Throwing edge doesn't look too bad. Up there it's not bad. Now, same thing of course. Flip it over, and I want to do the same thing on the bottom of this one. Now I know I got a run out here. That's going to sand out. And actually, I see something here that's going to be a problem. Right by that run, there is what looks like a ripple in the sheeting. For lack of a better word, I may have to improvise how I'm going to straighten that out. Luckily, it's on the bottom, though. It's almost never on the bottom. Now, extra along the edge. Oh, that wind is blowing now. Boy, I should have gotten up even a half hour earlier. Enzo the rooster's gonna have to wake me up earlier here. We're gonna run into this kind of problem. I'm gonna have to start getting up before the crack of dawn. Always extra on the cap strips and edges. You can see right out at that tip. I don't know. I guess you can't see it. We'll show it up in the shop where that bad spot really is. But at this point in time, runs are not a problem. Actually, nothing's a problem. All going to get sanded out. I think the problem is the wind. Extra around those edges, cap strip. That is such an important part of getting this to be nice. We've got some spots along here that aren't real nice. And I know the leading edge is going to be a focal point at some point in time, so I want that to lay down nice. Now, one spot out here too. Outer tip, we don't care how much material's out there. And that is really one of the ways of keeping a weight down and the appearance up is just get those little edges and angles. Now, the reason I haven't painted the middle because I need some way to hold this right up to the very end, and it's just easier to do it this way. And I see plenty of little mistakes, plenty of little things to correct. That if I were to paint this gray right now or white, you would never see them. But I know they'd be there, and at some point in time, somebody like Joe Adamusco or somebody that really does care about the finish of the model, they would see it. So we're going to have to reload the gun here and paint the middle. Now we've put on a whole gun, that gun is empty. I'm going to refill the gun, just paint the middle, and I can hold it by the push rod and the horn for that. And we're ready. Put this up to dry. Now other than the wind, the temperature is, it's about 40 degrees. It's not really even below freezing, but this would be a good time to hang this wing in the garage for half an hour or so. Let this material sink right in. And then take it down and put it by the heating vent. But by the heating vent, we want to be, from this point on, I don't want the material to dry really too quickly. So I try to get it near the heating vent, but not right underneath it. That's one of the secrets or tricks or whatever. And that drying thing, about some of the things I would never want to do, that I've really gotten burned in the past, is try to dry it with a hair dryer. Put it out in the sun. Never put dope out in the sun to dry. You're just asking for some kind of disaster. It's okay. I've found putting it in the back of the windstar seems like an okay place to do it. and then just park it in the sun, but not to have the sun shining right on it. Now, because this has had a few minutes to dry up, I can look and see that I've got really a lot of dry spots along the leading edge here. Oh, here goes the wind. Which I didn't see these when I actually put the first coat on, but I can see it now. And anytime I'm doing this, extra material around those cap strips. So important. Now I can flip this. And as I'm doing this, I'm looking for dry spots. At the edge of the fiberglass is always a good spot. I can see up here. This is as dry as a bone. As long as I'm going to do this, I can get an extra coat around the cap strip. Because this is probably going to have to dry half of the day. Maybe tonight I'll be able to come back and sand it. Right out there is where we have our bad spot. This is a dry area up along here. Now the only spot I got left here is where I'm holding it. This gets tricky now, especially when the wind is blowing. It's trickier than you think it is. Now let me hang it out in the garage for about a half an hour. That'll let that dope just lay down flat. All right, about a half an hour from now, we'll bring it in the house. And we should be all set with the first coat. Now you may think this is kind of funny. I don't think it's funny at all. I just heard Karen was reading me the paper while Silver's out there drying up. She's reading me an article about Tom Cruise got the first delivery of the new $72,000 Ducati street bikes, the 200-mile-an-hour street bikes. And I was thinking, now how could they have given it to Tom Cruise and not had me on that list? They know I love Ducatis. What's going on there? So, some good news and some bad news. Tom Cruise got the first one. I don't know if I'm going to get the second one. They're only going to bring 150 into the country, and they're 72 grand each. So if you got a spare 72 grand, buy me one. Let's see if that paint's ready to bring in from outside. Okay, we've had our second cup of coffee and we're ready. Everything's drying up. Now notice what I've done. I don't have it by the heating vent. I've got it near the heating vent. I don't want this drying up really way too quickly here because I'm not in a rush to sand it out. But I do want it to get that real good bite, and I don't want it to take any chance. See, if anytime you're getting dope to dry quick, a little bit quick is okay, but you don't want it to dry in under a half an hour. And that looks like it's drying up. We got the flaps over on the composite bench. They're drying up. And I'm going to give them a couple of, well, at least a couple of hours while I work on other projects. And when we come back, this should be ready to sand out and start looking forward to correcting some of those. Now, I always try to use my little pieces as a little test to see how everything is drying up, because shop conditions, of course, change with the heat and the temperature and the humidity. But I always take a small piece, one of the gear blocks, tip blocks. And this is one of the reasons I prefer to finish this way rather than trying to paint the whole ship at once, or in the worst scenario, it's all in one piece and you're trying to do that sanding. It just gets too boring. Where when you're doing it little bits at a time, it's like running a marathon where you can run a mile, go take a rest, run a mile, go take a rest, and as opposed to you got to run it all at once. Not sure that's a good analogy, but what I wanted to look at real carefully is how this is drying up, because this is the one part that I don't care if I have 10 extra coats on it out on the outboard tip, won't matter at all. And I'm changing, see, I'm just not going in one direction for the whole time. That's part of the secret. And I don't want to, the other part is I don't want to take it all off. I want to have some of it off, but not all of it off. And how much of it comes off is dependent on the quality of the part underneath. Now, as I'm looking at this, anywhere that I've sanded through is obviously on the high spot. Anywhere that it's still solid silver, it's a relative low spot. But in the end, I think 1 or 2 more coats on this. I'm going to break all these edges, of course, radius this little edge, and get ready. The next time I spray this silver, I'll try not to use it as like a spray silver filler coat, but just try to coat it with one nice thin coat and see what it looks like. But a lot of times these dry spots, and what that dry spot is where we're relieved inside for the tip weight, the nut. It got real thin there, and I've had to harden it up with thin CA, and it's because I've thinned out the tip so much. That's the reason. But that's about how much silver I like to leave on for that coat. And that's what's nice about doing a ship in pieces, is you can get a feel for how this is drying up. Now, usually 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours, it depends on shop conditions. I imagine in a warmer weather, less humidity, this would be dry in an hour. But in our shop conditions, it's usually the better part of a day. But what's real important to know is that you can't sand all the silver off to where there's no silver, and you can't leave it all on. And knowing where that median balance point is what allows you to, I think, have the best of all worlds, where it's glassy smooth and it's not that heavy. And I'm breaking all the edges. And I think the last plane I made that was in one piece, I remember thinking, wow, when I'd get to this point in the build, it'd be like a nightmare to get up and sand a whole coat of silver. It would be a whole day. Where this I can get, and I think of that marathon race again. I just think if you can run a mile, take a rest, run a mile, take a rest. But anytime you can get one little part like this done, while something else is drying, while you're watching videos, while you're making phone calls, whatever, this is so much easier than doing the whole thing at once. And that's about how much I'd be leaving on this coat. This might be ready for one of those nice thin silver coats, which we'll try. We'll see how that works out. If there are no dry spots, we're done. Now, what's nice about this is the soapy water works perfectly well. And in the days, and I remember when you could just go down to our local charred body shop, pick up a gallon of M600 for $11. Well, that's not the case anymore. First off, we can't buy it in New Jersey, and when we do get it, it's a lot more money. So the soapy water has kind of taken over, and I've gotten used to all the little idiosyncrasies of using it. One of them is to change the water every day. I've noticed warm water, a couple of drops of soap, dishwater soap, dish soap, seems to work just fine. A lot of times what I found works well, if you're doing silk span, the sandpaper, brand new sandpaper, this is all 600 by the way, let it soak in the water overnight and it gets nice and soft and it still has the grit. That's a good little Harold Price type of trick. And it may be that we're ready. Oh, I can smell those cupcakes up there. I can't wait. Karen is going to fatten me up, I know it. And when flying season comes, I got to get rid of all of this weight, and I got to get back into flying shape. Anyway, these little parts have worked out well. We can move right on to doing the flaps. Notice I'm doing the smallest part, bigger, and the biggest part, and anything with silk span last, because the silk span, I would like that material to be dry longer than all the other stuff. If this dried in 4 or 5 hours, let that dry in 6 or 7. Now it looks like these are ready to go. You know, and I just wanted to mention one other thing. Maybe a lot of people realize or don't realize. What I put on the beginning of this tape was the last of the SpitFire videos, and unfortunately, it looks like they've either gone out of business or stopped doing Reno videos, or changed their name or whatever they have. But I've been unable to get anything past the year 2000, and the thing that really disappoints me is I've gotten so much inspiration and so much enjoyment out of watching those videos over the years that basically I hate to see it, that it's discontinued. That really kind of disappoints me anyway. Well, anyway, not to belabor the point, but since there are no more, I thought these would be classic collectibles, and my favorite part of them is always in fact, I even like the jet race. All of the World War II warbirds. Seeing the people like Tiger DeStefani and Skip Holm and people that are the legends in that event. Anyway, we're back to this. We're looking, and it might still be light out there when I go to do this on a second coat. I might be able to get 2 coats on today. Now this looks like, here's just a typical example of things to look for the first time you hit this. Well, let me get a close-up of this. All these little moon craters are low spots. It means we're going to need another heavy coat of silver. Light spot means this is relatively high. We've kind of buried the seam to the lucky box in paint. That looks like it's fine, but these are all low spots that are telling me this is going to need at least 1 more coat. And what's funny is when you look at it, when it's not sanded down, well, I guess you can see it up here, it's still little rough spots, little uneven spots, a little piece missing in the tissue there, little defects here, little defects there. But when you're looking for, you really want to have that top level finish, there's just no substitute for sanding out the silver. It's the silver and the sanding, and sanding it over, put the silver on. Sand it over, put the silver on, and at some point it'll look perfect. And that's the point at which, well, we're not going to settle for anything less than making this as good as we possibly can. And I like to do, this is about the size of a playing card. Again, about a playing card's worth at a time. Move over, keep it dry as much as possible. Do the smaller parts first. There's just some predictable 101s of doing this that make it, well, as easy as it can be. And in the case of a take-apart plane, or a plane that doesn't have the flaps and elevators attached, I think it makes it easier when you can pre-finish these parts individually instead of trying to do them all at once. Now I remember when the first time I had done this, what I thought was going to be really a good idea was I sanded all the silver off. Well, and it took me a few times to realize sanding it all off was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to just leave it in those little moon craters. Because no matter what, those moon craters have to be filled. The wood itself is not a perfect finish. If we were sanding out a piece of metal, you wouldn't have moon craters. It's only because you have a piece of wood that's the reality of it. Let's see who can't live without me today. That's pretty neat. That was the guy calling to pick up the Elliot's Miss Ashley. But anyway, and I don't want to belabor this sanding the silver thing, because here's what the bottom line is with all of this. When you can make it as easy as possible, and again, those tricks, those tips, whatever they are, it took me a lot of years to figure it out. You can figure it out in probably in 3 hours watching this DVD, or another DVD, or whatever. There's no reason you need to spend 10 years figuring out what the do's and don'ts are. But I found them out the hard way. And a lot of people along the way helped me kind of figure it out. But basically, in the end, you've got to take into account your shop conditions, your level of what you're looking for. If you're just looking for a brush-on finish that looks pretty good, and maybe you'll buff it out, maybe you won't. Well, maybe a lot of this stuff isn't really going to float your boat. But when you have that commitment, I call it the Ferrari commitment, having seen that factory. When I see how they build a Ferrari and how they do not compromise, they make everything themselves. They don't rely on store-bought parts or hubcaps from some other outfit or whatever. It seems like they do everything in-house. Well, it seems like that's how I like to operate. I like to make my own tune pipes, my own tanks, my own... even in this case, we're going to try to make some fancy wheels for this guy, or all our own molds and bucks for the shells. But we're kind of mimicking how they build Ferraris in a roundabout way. I guess it sounds kind of conceited, but it's true. Is we're trying to at least set the goal that we're not going to compromise things. And what I find is when I see people in the club and whatever, and they say, gee, it's Saturday morning and I need to paint the plane. I want to be done Saturday by lunchtime. They usually don't get what they want. What they usually get is disappointed. But most of the people, and I would say a great majority of people that have checked out the way I do things, for whatever that's worth, almost all of those people, with a few exceptions, have figured out how within a very short time to put a really nice finish on the plane, and most of all, how to make it that each finish gets better than the one before. Because it doesn't matter if you're at the top of your game, as long as you know that the next one will be better, the one after that will be better. Then you want to get into some exotic ink work or some exotic painting or mixing Brodak custom colors, or you want to rise to Brookins' level of mixing your own paint and everything like Rich Jacobone has done in the last couple of years. Every one of those is a little step up the ladder. And I think in my case, what really makes me happy is when I see somebody, Mike Kajeski's a good example of somebody who we were videotaping him brushing black paint on a Sig Magnum. And the next time we saw him, he had a Cardinal with 9 colors of candy apple paint that he did all the masking and everything himself. And so with a little bit of help, you can really move right along. Now, just as an example, and I mean, this is a really dumb example, but I guess it's worth mentioning. If I were to know somebody at the Ferrari factory that would take me in there and show me how to do various operations, make the seat covers out of leather, maybe build an engine, maybe put a transmission together or whatever, if they would show me and all the tricks they've learned over 100 years, I'd be way ahead of the guy who said, I'm going to do this myself and I'm going to just lock myself in a closet and I'm going to do it myself. And ultimately what happens is, if you're enjoying and having fun doing what you're doing, you get better automatically. But what's nice is when you can get better at a really rapid rate where it just goes. That's the goal that's I think worth working on. So after a part is all totally sanded out on one side, now before I flip it over and start the other side, I can get a feel for right now when I see this many moon craters. What that's telling me is I probably am going to need more than one more coat of silver to fill those in perfectly. If I sand it even more, maybe not. Now in this area here, very, very few. But to do this right, if you make a mistake and get down into the tissue, if there's not enough clear under the silver, what happens? You break through and then all this work is lost and you've got to go back and re-clear the part 3 or 4 times. Here's a little moon crater. Now I could just hit that with a little piece of sandpaper dry. My edges are dry. If you know how to identify these things, just being able to identify what the little problems are and how to make them better that makes it so much easier than a person, say, that just looks at this part and says, let's paint the plane. And when you know what the little, these dry spots and these little rough spots, and see, I can feel that with my hand. Even though my hands are kind of chewed up at times, I have developed a little feel for when that feels nice. When you rub your hand on it, it's almost silent. When you rub your hand on something, you hear that sound? You flip it over, no sound. That's kind of what would lead me to believe once you know these little signposts, the rest is pretty easy to figure out. Now, I was really hoping we were going to get more done in this session, but a lot of things have kind of come our way that I didn't expect. And the point is here, I never want to rush it, because I can get back to this later tonight, and I'll be in a lot more patient mood to work on these parts. I never, ever, at this point in time, want to just grind it out and rush through it like I'm not enjoying it.
Now this afternoon, after all the nonsense that's been going on around here with things blowing down and whatever, we got Elliot's package off to California, among other things, and we are ready. This will be the end of the flaps, and I'm thinking if I can get this done, there's almost no chance I'm going to get the wing done before it's time to spray outside, but we're not getting a break with the wind today anyway, so there's no point rushing it. I'll just try to detail these parts out as much as I can, but once I get all these little parts done, now what it means is the wing has been drying for a little bit more time than what we normally allow. In fact, I think it's probably 6 or 7 hours, in fact. But what that's going to mean is it should sand out even easier. Now that's a critical point to remember, is you can sand things. Oh, I'm going to guess the minimum would be maybe 2 hours at 70 degrees, maybe a little longer, a little shorter, but it's always better if you can allow a little extra time. If you don't have, well, the obligations that we have to keep so many blow torches and things running at the same time. If you just have dedicated time to do modeling, let's say you have a whole day Saturday or whatever, yeah, I'd say 2 hours you could do it. Now one of the flaps, it's probably 45 minutes to an hour to get one of them done. But the big sanding, the detailing, this next coat, I'm hoping we're going to see very few of these same flaws. We're going to find out, of course. This is all, it's all mumbo jumbo until we see what the next coat of silver looks like. But if you have some idea of how many hours are going to go into it, well, you can plan out the project accordingly. What happens, and I think some people get in trouble, is they think they're going to sand out a whole plane in a half an hour, and obviously that's not going to happen. So if we look at how this worked out, these are probably ready. In fact, what I'm going to try to do is wait as late in the day as I can before dark to see if the wind is going to come down, and in the meantime I can get started on the wing. And boy, here's a big thing to look at. Check this out. I'm not sure if you can see how straight these flaps have stayed. I'm trying to do this in reverse, but these flaps have really been nice. Now, we hope that the next coat of this is going to cover 90% of this, maybe even more, and then we'll do that hopefully we're only 1 coat away, but if we're 2 coats away, or if we're 10 coats away, it won't really matter, because what I really want to have happen here more than anything is I want to have it perfect, rather than a little glitch here, because what happens in the life of the model, as the plane is being used and you're flying it, you wind up picking up stone marks and fingernail marks and Allen wrench marks. But boy, when you start off, if it starts off real close to perfect, well, look at that flap. I am so proud of this flap. I don't know why I'm proud of it. Joe made the flaps. Joe, you've outdone yourself. That's all I can say. These are really nice. These are going to really, I hope, and they're as stiff as they're much stiffer than if we fiberglassed them. I'm sure of that. So I think this is one of the key things that's going to make this model really easy to trim and really special. Now with the wing down, and it looks pretty well ready to sand out, what I try to do is I try to look for some of the things, and here's one of the things. See these little bubbles? The little bubbles. That's because the heat was really drying this a little too quickly. So we're going to hang it just away from the heating vent. In other words, when you have a very thin coat, that doesn't happen. When you put a big thick coat on and get it too hot too quick, it winds up, they'll sand right out. It's not a problem. We have a lot of extra material over the cap strips, but what's going to happen is I'm going to spend the rest of this day, even if I only get a part of it done, and the odds are good I'll only get a part of it. Out here, we got a seam in the silk span we want to address. We have rough spots that I didn't address yet. The seam where the tissue is double, that always is something that needs a little extra work. Little piece out by the trailing edge. But the point is, it always looks pretty rough until you start working on it. And then this second coat, now out here is where we had the run. And right here we have a funny spot in the wood, and I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to see if I can... See, the silver, you would not see that if it wasn't in silver. But I guess what I'll do is I'll start on this area here, because this may need some extra work. I may need to slit that with a razor or something just to get in there, and it seems like there's a little bit of a mountain there. Just little areas that need to be sanded. These need a lot of sanding. But getting a lot of material over the cap strips, that always gets us a good head start. Out here, the usual look when you double silk span over glass, you can still see the glass, the little imprint through it. Out here, there's a couple of spots. It looks like that's just chunks of dry tissue that we can address. And we got some, again, I must have been spraying this. Well, I was spraying it, and the wind was blowing so bad here at times. I can sand these out. So what I always try to do is pick the worst spot first. This wingtip is the worst. So I'll start working on that one first. Now what I try to do is, because I have anytime you have a run is a mountaintop. So we want to shave the mountaintop down. I don't want to shave the material around it. What I'd like to do is, and this is, I showed this up close, some 320 paper. I want to at least just get it flat to begin with. Just flatten it out. And this, I don't want to grind away at it, because what's going to happen is it's going to create, from the run where it's not really hard, it's going to probably ball up on the sandpaper rather than turning to what we normally consider the dust. So whenever there's a run, I want to just, with the slightest bit of pressure, the slightest bit, work that area down to where I can feel that it's flat. Now the 320 is going to leave sanding scratches, but in our case we don't even care, because we're going to go over it all, and we're obviously going to go over it with more clear and more silver at some point in time. But this will definitely get rid of, and I'll show this up close. I wanted to show this without any like making it look either easier or harder than it really is. Now we're rid of that run. Let me show this up close. Now, if I close my eyes, I can't feel that at all. So that's one of the things we needed to do. These little bubbles, these will come right out when we start sanding, but it's really better not to have the bubbles there. Now the other thing is, and right here is where that, and it looks like it's a seam, and I'm not sure if I'm going to try to sand it down, but I'm not sure. I don't want to get it to where I'm popping through the silk span either. Now at this point, if you can evaluate what the errors that you have in a silver, and you know what the corrections are, it's not a problem if you have one problem, two problems, 10 or 100, as long as you're willing to work them out. Now in this case, I'm really not ready to go for major surgery here yet, because I want to see if I can just knock this down, if that's going to be possible. And in the worst scenario, if I go through, I'll have to recover one open bay and get in there and fix it. But I definitely have a high spot right there that I'm not sure how it got there. If it was just sloppy sanding on my part, or if one of the glue joints inside has somehow loosened up or become a problem. But
I'm going to try to get this to go down. Let's see if it's our lucky day. Now that's almost down. Ooh, that's close. That's close. I'm getting a little tough here. I'm getting a little carried away. Maybe I can just carefully block that out. And we see we may have to go back and do this 2 or 3 times. No, maybe that made it. That probably got rid of it. But I want to be real careful around the edge where the silk span ends and the wood begins. Now let me just show something else up close that may be of real value on this. And when you start to see this, where you're going right down through, and now we're into the tissue here. The correction for this is I'm going to put a little thin CA on there and just rub it with a paper towel. And that'll get rid of a spot that we're actually down into the tissue. And this tip is probably the worst, or the one, look at this, I can't escape. Now, that was all done. All of this was done with 320 paper. Now, the next step on this, I'm going to get out the wet and dry and some 600 and try to just do a little more, I'll call it grinding out for lack of a better word. And this is the most amazing thing. The 2 big errors, the 2 big runs are both on the bottom. I love it. Maybe it is my lucky day. Maybe I'll finally get some respect from the modeling community. But anyway, we had an interesting call with a fella from Erie, PA that's getting back into the hobby and had some basic 101 questions, and we're always glad to do that, of course. But I was really hoping, and this time of year, the phone usually is ringing pretty well because everybody's got a project underway. As soon as May hits, or June even, yeah, everybody's out at the field. Who needs windy? But this time of year, it's like, I don't know. I feel like somebody loves me anyway. Anyway, we're going to get this, I hope. But I'm not going to rush it. If it doesn't work out that I have this sanded before darkness comes, we'll just do it tomorrow. There's quite a bit of spots that I want to detail on this, and because I think I should have put, and from looking at this so far, I think one of the things I should have done is put at least 1 or 2 more coats of clear under the silver and sand them out. But even that, the recovery is that I just sand out more coats of silver, which, well, either way you're going to sand it. There's no real way a mouse comes out of the closet and sands it for you. But again, this is the worst 2 spots on a plane are both on the bottom, and they'll be repaired. They'll be covered up. In time, these will disappear. Now, if it was on the bottom of the outer panel, I wouldn't even care. I'd just bury it in paint. Just totally bury it in paint. Now, once that's dried up and I see I have a spot here, I may have to put a little bit of that red putty there. Okay. That, even though that still looks pretty rough, that's pretty smooth. I thought what else I'd show is that one open bay here, just one open bay. Again, I never try to do an area bigger than the size of a playing card. I never try to do more than one open bay at a time. And I'll be real careful because I really do think this is just going to need some more material. See, I'm always trying to do it with the minimum amount of material, and in the end I wind up putting it on anyway, so. I'm trying to be real careful around the edges, and I know there's a lot of extra material there, but just very, very careful. And when I start to see the silver disappearing on the tissue areas, again, the worst that's going to happen is I won't have the wing finished. And just before dark, I'll go out there and see if the wind died down and try to spray all those smaller parts. But I know the wing is going to be just time consuming, and if the phone wasn't ringing, maybe, but you know what, this time of year, I always enjoy helping some of the other guys that are getting, especially guys when they get back into it. It seems like, boy, there's so many cool things happen when you come back to model aviation after a long layoff. You find out the glue is better, the dope is better, air epoxy light's better, the fun is better, control line whirl's better. It's just plain better. Just hard to define, I guess. Now there's still some sanding that's going to need to happen around these edges, but I think basically you see roughly how much time I would spend to do one bay. But now what I'm doing is I'm looking at, and this is the critical thing, see the hard points starting to come up through the tissue? I don't want that to be a problem, that I'm going down in there and gouging that out. I want to be real careful now. In fact, maybe I'll take a brand new piece of sandpaper, because I really don't want to go down, and I can do just one little corner. It's usually the corners that you wind up building up a lot of material that you don't really need. You just take it along for the ride. And sometimes that's where your 7-ounce finish becomes a 9-ounce finish or whatever. Just getting right in those little corners and angles. And I think we'll only do this one on camera, and then you'll pretty much get the idea. But as we see that edge coming through, as soon as that edge comes through, we're done. We're done. You keep sanding on an edge, and we'll be, or if I keep sanding, we will definitely, at that point in time, be doing a repair. That's about as close as I can get this right now in complete safety. And there's still material around the edge. Let me show it up close. It's always hard to get in those corners. As soon as I see this edge coming up, this radius edge, I know I'm pretty much done. In the center here, this is about what I'd like for the whole panel. Out here, we're pretty smooth now. The wing is definitely going to require at least 2 or 3 more coats of silver, so there's no point in what I call making myself frustrated here. I'm just going to tough this out, and there's a lot of bays to do. And whatever it takes in terms of time, energy, we'll work on it till just before dark and then spray up those extra parts. I've been trying to keep track of about how long it takes to do a panel. Doing the perimeter on this took about 1 hour and 15 minutes. And each one of these panels takes about 5 minutes. So I think it's safe to say we're looking at about 8 hours of sanding here altogether, but it's at this point in time, this is where we're going to make or break this finish. And when I'm done, I don't care if this takes an extra day or so. I want every flaw that I can get out right now, early on. And the sooner I get them out, it's like straightening out the bricks in a building. The sooner you straighten out the bricks, the better of a chance you have. And what I've noticed is every one of these bays has something that I want to correct, some little area. And that's what's nice about having all that material extra around it. It just gives you plenty of material to work with when you're sanding this out. Well, I've got one panel done, and I've left a little more silver on the tissue than I normally would, because I think after evaluating this whole panel and running my hand on it and whatever, I think I could have really put one more coat of clear on this underneath that, but it won't matter. That coat of silver, it's just going to be another coat of silver. And a little under 2 hours to do a panel. More than likely what will happen is I'll get, well, May get this side sanded out tonight, but I do want to get those silver parts before it gets dark, and then usually that's the end of it. And I'm not sure what that little spot was, but it seems to be, well, under control. And the both, it's ironic. I've almost never seen it on both sides. The bad spots are on the bottom. That almost never, ever happens. You can almost always guarantee. The one thing you can guarantee is that anytime you have a bad spot, it'll be on the top. So I've had a nice 5-minute break, had another cup of coffee, and it's time to dig into this side. You know, and I found out, yeah, years ago when I was younger, I could do a whole wing in one day. I don't think, I'm just too old. But if I get half of this done tonight, I'll really be happy. Now, luckily, to give me a little bit of a break, my secretary has downloaded a picture of John Pothia's RC ship. Pretty cool, huh? That looks better than that pile of bricks in his yard.
Am I your secretary or your supervisor?
I don't know. How are those muffins? How are those cupcakes coming out, baby?
They're great.
Oh my God.
Oh, I lost.
Oh, there go. Oh, the computer blew up. Oh.
Okay.
I could use a cupcake. I'm getting tired of sanding.
Sorry.
See, while she's doing my email, I'm sanding. What's wrong with that picture? Maybe. Would you be interested in learning how to sand?
I don't think so. My nails.
I don't think so, huh? Chicky, what do you think? I don't know. I don't know if I can trust her. Good time for another break. Now, what I decided to do, because this took a lot longer than I thought it would, I'm just gonna wait to do this all tomorrow. It's really getting too late to even start spraying. And I'll see how much more of this I can do. I can start on the other side, maybe get an hour into the other side if I'm lucky. But most of the little things that I was working on, most of them all came out. And of course we won't really know until the next coat. But that's what makes this, I mean, it makes it rewarding to me that what happens is each time we work on this, it just gets a little bit nicer than the time before. And I just hope we get weather tomorrow that we can spray another coat of silver on. Well, when we got up this morning, they're predicting either big rain or big snow. And I have to sand out the rest of the wing, so maybe that's all I'm going to get done today. It's hard to deal with this kind of rain. You know, there's just no reasonable way I can do what I got to do. But it's never too late for a cup of coffee. Boy, not your your coffee in the morning. That is, there's something about that, Ramo. The birds are all soaking wet too. My poor babies are soaking wet. Wet. Wendy, give us a towel. Look at how wet they are. This guy's got little horns. Wendy, it's wet out here. You're not gonna paint today, my boy. All right, they are. We may have to just do a sanding day and
Yeah, not a
quit while we're ahead here. Not a painting day, huh? I think we'll just have to ask Enzo the rooster if it's a good sanding day or a good painting day. Here's a clue, Wendy. Go sand the other half of that wing and don't even think about painting until it stops raining. Don't be a baby. Enzo's always got the top advice. Enzo the rooster. How many cupcakes did you bake? At least it's nice.
There were 15 in each tray.
15? Oh, they gotta be, ooh, that's nice.
They're not frosted yet.
Yeah. Those are called birthday cupcakes.
And Super Bowl cupcakes.
And of course, if all else fails, they become bird cupcakes.
No.
They're not, these poor birds are suffering out there today. Notice I filled their feeder right to the top as we get ready to go sand out the rest of that wing. And when the birds get wet, you notice the top of their hair stands straight up. Karen used to call that Toyota head, because when I would sit in her Toyota, when we first met, she had a Toyota, and that's what my hair would look at his hair. Look at this little guy in the front.
Yeah,
he's got Toyota head.
Top of the roof.
Yeah. Ah! Toyota head.
I'm telling you, the life of the SpitFire construction team, always a challenge.
Well, considering it was a stormy, rainy, windy day, at least I got, and it was redundant. There was no point even putting it on video. Bottom and top are the same. It's sanded out, really nice. But obviously it's going to need more coats of silver, and there's no way that I can picture unless we have a miracle. And we really are fortunate in one thing. This could be snow, in which case I'd be shoveling 2 houses and, oh man, that'd put a kink in my SpitFire construction. But and one of the things I've always, I guess, taken a little pride in is being able to work around different things, as Joe says, juggling a blowtorch and whatever. But when it comes to paint, there's really no substitute for waiting for a good day. When you try to push the issue on a day like today, you almost always regret it somewhere down the road.
Well, I waited out most of this day, but I just think this is just a write-off, boy. And I can remember many times trying to force the issue and the next day regretting it and thinking, what was I thinking? And I guess that is a good lesson to learn from, you know, when you live in the Northeast, you're always subject to a change in the weather and something unpredictable. And we always have the thing to be thankful for, that thank God this isn't snow. Well, we would really be behind the 8 ball now. Because it's been raining really like crazy all day.
Well, I guess the only thing we could do, we could spray the little parts in the doorway. That may be worthwhile doing, I'm not sure. And in fact, maybe I will do that. It's just the problem is, doing the wing in that back little hallway there is, boy, you take a chance on bumping and banging it and putting nicks in it. And these little parts I guess I could do. And well, maybe I will do it. You know why? Because this is going to need at least minimum one more coat of silver. And at least then these tomorrow, if all else fails, I can sand these out and then spray the wing tomorrow. No, we're just going to have to see. And I'm going to have to look at the weather report.
Now, if you look back at some of the old I-beam SpitFire videos, you notice when I was covering a wing and stuff and doping it out in the garage, it was snowing. But the only difference is I was 11 years younger, and I'm just too old to put up with that anymore.
Now, as I look at the smaller parts, and I think, yeah, maybe I will. What I normally would do when I think I'm at the point where I'm going to have the last coat of silver, I usually put a little extra thinner in the paint. The trouble is, as I feel this, there's still little flaws and little edges around here that I think are going to come through. And I know the flaps are going to need at least one more coat. So I'm going to put this on at the regular thickness, which is about 60 thinner and 40. Well, I'd like to get even a little more thinner in it, but you know what? On a day like today, I may have to add a little retarder even. We'll see how this dries up. But you can always evaluate it, and when it's time to put that last coat on, that's the coat that you want, just as thin as can be. Yeah, still going to need one more sand out. I can see we're fighting this. There's still a couple little defects in there, but at least tomorrow I'll be able to sand this out. I guess that's the trade-off here. But at least I'll have something to work on tomorrow. I can't really do much until I get the canopies from Midgley. And that's not really what's holding things up. What's holding things up is getting the wing in silver so I can get the wing in a fuselage. That's really the step that comes before. And I'm not going to get the horse ahead of the cart, the Merlin ahead of the Griffin. We're going to need one more coat. So this is really good that we're getting this. And I know the flaps have a lot of little flaws in them. Now you see the little dots. If you can look and see the little dot, there's little dots in this. Well, that I want to get straightened out before we go and try to give this a final coat. Well, this looks like it was an okay move, because from looking at how many little spots there are on here that look a little bit light on finish. See these little, that look like hairs? What that is, that's because we don't have enough dope on, and that's little hairs of the silk span coming through. See if we could focus in on some of these. Important to note that that's what that is. Right there, that's little hairs. And what that's telling us is we're going to need a minimum, an absolute minimum of one more coat. But tomorrow this will be dry and we can sand it out. So we, in essence, we will have used a rainy day, I hope, effectively. You can see up here, that's that dry spot we've been working on. And I think the way I'm going to deal with this, I'm going to wait for this coat to dry up. Let's see if we can get that right on there. That little spot. And we'll just wait. Once this dries up, I can just shoot on another coat or two of this silver to let it fill that in. This side's not bad, but obviously this is all going to get sanded out again. Now we can do little parts in this little back room here, but you know what? There's a real problem. And I keep thinking, I've tried to do this in the past, but there's just so many things in the way. But one of the things on a rainy day you may think, well, how is this working here? Is what I do is I let the compressor fill up with air that's in the house, and of course the furnace is right here. So what happens is this air, because it's air heat, is usually pretty dry. We don't run into a humidity problem unless I leave the door open for an hour or so. But what I do, what I found works pretty well, is I leave the door open, shut the door, let the heat kick on, go out, do another part. Come back, let the compressor fill up. Or if I see I'm having a humidity issue, and this is really an important thing, I can pull the compressor inside the house, because I want to pull the dry air from inside the house. I don't want to pull the air. I don't want to pull the air from outside. Now, when people were watching those original Brodak videos, and he said, "Oh, you're painting in the snow." Yeah, but a lot of times what I was doing when the humidity was high like this is I'd have the compressor in the house, and it'd be sucking air that had no humidity from inside the house. So that was, well, it's not like any of us want to paint in this rain, but I think we've made the most out of what probably was a write-off day. And sometimes just getting something small like this done, at least I feel like I got some. Well, I may have some of those SpitFire pictures out on from the internet from Rich Walbridge. If I do, that'll cheer me up. But you never know. Rainy days. And then there's my other famous saying, "Live to fight another day." So this is the latest. Now this is from John Pothia. Notice Chicky is the nose art, and I think that's great, by the way. He put me in a flight suit and with an appropriate hat. I don't know if I'm a coal miner or what there. That is cool. Hey John, this ship has the wrong AMA number. It's 72618. Anyway, John is wickering around with these, and we're going to come up with something really cool. And I'm just thinking, anybody's got some ideas how we can make this even cooler? I don't know. I guess we could think of something here. I'm not sure. That is really cool, John. And the Ferrari patch or the Chicky patch. I can't really see it on my screen. That is cool. KYN. By the way, KYN is the real letter from my SpitFire. Of course, it's an abbreviation for Karen, the love of my life. That is cool, John. You are really up in the bar here. I'm not sure you can see how cool it is on these things we pull off the internet. If only the thing were true, though. That's the part that stinks. If only it were true.
That's your plane.
I know. KYN. What is KYN? Karen is. I had to call Karen down here. She's so impressed.
Oh God.
Is that wild?
Fabulous.
KYN. How cool is that? Miss KYN.
What is that? What is that patch? Is that a?
He put a Ferrari patch on my shoulder, like I'm in a Ferrari army or something. Must be the Italian Air Force.
You should get the Ferrari patch out of there.
Look at Chicky's nose art, though. Look at the Chicky nose art.
Right. I think the Ferrari patch has to go though.
You heard it, John. You heard it
No, it's-
from Karen.
No, you need a SpitFire patch.
Chicky, I don't know if Chicky agrees that Chicky has to go. Chicky's looking over us here.
Chicky can stay, but the
Chicky can stay, huh?
Ferrari patch has to go.
Very cool. And these are the photos today from Rich Walbridge. Look at the thing that says Rolls Royce here. We could put Rojet up there. Here's the rudder. Oh, I love that rudder. Rolls Royce Rojet. Okay, now here's another photo of the G-Fire. Now, of course, there's nothing stopping us from improvising on this. But that is a nice paint job, and it's got, well, of course, the bubble canopy guy, but that wouldn't stop me from doing it. If I decide red is the way to go, we'll do something very similar to that. I really do like the G-Fire. The only thing I don't like about it doesn't have the roundels and all the military markings, but of course there's nothing stopping us from doing a fantasy paint job, nothing. Always one of my thoughts. Oh, here you go with the Rolls Royce, a nice close-up. This will be handy when we do the ogive areas and all those areas up there. You got to get those Zeus fittings in the right spot too. Anyway, on a rainy day, Rich, you've made our day a little brighter. Even though we can't really do, I really wanted to get some silver on that wing, but not happening today. And boy, there's the view we like. The thick nose, the short, thick nose, the gear in close like that, the big scoop under the nose, smaller stab in elevators, and boy, I hope we can come up with some way of doing those fillets. I'm still thinking about that every day, trying to come up with something unique, and we'll see when we get to it. It's a bridge we have to cross. And obviously one of my favorites, the silver and red, one that's right at the top of the list for a paint job. But again, there's nothing to stop Joe even from just coming up with the fantasy paint job of his dream. That's what's cool about the SpitFire. So many variations, and so many different variations that until you see them in full scale, you don't even know they exist. Almost like the Reno Air Racers, with every paint job being different. Now here's a paint job I have never seen, with the red, white, and blue out at the wingtips. That is unique. And I'm trying to see if that's obviously from some other Air Force. That's not a British thing, no roundels. This is the cool thing about SpitFires, though. There's so many variations you can make. And really, every time, and I've done as much research as probably most people, or maybe more. And I keep uncovering, and Rich Walbridge, of course, throws fuel on the fire here. Every day we find new paint job choices. We're really, our head is spinning. That's why I don't want to make any decision until we're actually ready to mix paint. I'm not sure what this is. Somebody took a picture through a tree. But it's Joe Adamusco's paint job on a turtle deck model with a camera portal. A camera portal right behind the cockpit. Look at the radiators. They're in full open. And the cameras, because these 5-bladed props, they freeze in the camera frames when they go on a very fast setting. That really looks cool. Look at that, the radiator thing. The doors are straight open. It must be right on takeoff. I'm dying to see how this is going to pan out with the smaller looking stab, more scale. A lot of unique features on this plane that I really, since we've never seen it all together in one piece, and obviously haven't seen it all in silver or in finish, it'll be really, really interesting. Oh man, that's a nice one. That's a counter rotator, by the way. You can see how the camera freezes the props. The long spinner, turtle deck model, and the radiator doors wide open. That is definitely cool. We got one with his two of them flying knife edge here. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah, this really brightened up a rainy day. Rich, again, thank you so much for sharing these. We really enjoy it. And thank you to everybody that shares the photos, the pictures. We really do enjoy seeing this stuff. Give us a little inspiration on a rainy day. Now we're waiting here in the shop momentarily. It's going to come across the internet. Rich Oliver sent us some pictures of his house and shop. They're downloading right now, and Karen is dying to see them. Karen is dying to see them more than me, in fact. I just want to see the shop, Rich. But I hope we get some pictures of the shop here. Here's my shop, just sitting here waiting to go to Texas. Of course, we still have to get a little paint on that wing. Doesn't look like it's going to stop raining today. We're trying to wait out the day, but really isn't happening for us today. Okay, these are pictures of Richard Oliver's new house, and obviously we're going to be down there in the spring in Texas to see it in real life, but this is his brand new house. Well, it looks like they got a big cathedral ceiling here. Yet this is his new house in Texas, 70 miles from Houston. Oh, and here's you-know-who. Hey, Rich, we can't wait to see this. Rich and Edie, we can't wait to see this in real life. And the only thing you need here is a windy video playing and you're all set. I'm assuming that's a flat screen. We just got a Vizio, 37-inch Vizio, and boy is it nice. That looks real nice. Now here's what we want to see. Oh, he's got the lights hanging down, got the shop going. And all his stuff in there. Stuff. Rich, who puts a car in a garage? A garage is for modeling. Who's the car? It looks like he's got himself a tractor here. And I thought, but maybe I'm wrong, that when he bought this house, the guy gave him a tractor as part of the deal. But I certainly can picture that you could put a flying field there. See what I'd do? I'd go out here, pour some gasoline on those trees, burn them down, and level that all down. Or just get some guy to sit on his tractor all day long and just flatten that land out till it was flat. Now see, the problem is here, Edie, you got to learn how to drive a tractor. But Rich, little known, see, I know Rich didn't notice, but he doesn't know I'm a professional tractor driver. When my brother-in-law bought his property, I taught him how to drive one of these things and how to use, well, he had a backhoe too. And we leveled out his whole back property. Of course, it looked like Beirut for a couple of weeks until we figured out how to work all the controls, but it was a lot of fun. Anyway, we'll be seeing this in real life very soon. Well, a couple months, 2 or 3 months. And we hope the SpitFires are going to be down there to take some flights on this field. And there's the little walkway going out to the flying field. This looks like a really, now I didn't see this before. This little dormer up here, that's pretty cool. Not sure what that's all about, but you need that walkway, it looks like. It's muddy to get out to the flying field. And of course here's the house and the outbuilding, which of course is Rich's shop. I think that's just as cool. Rich, you are a lucky dude. All that and to have Edie for a life partner, you better never look for sympathy from me. And I guess as time goes by, you'll get to be an expert at using that tractor to level land. Oh yeah, it looks like he's got quite a bit of it graded out already. And of course, this must be right after a rainstorm. That wouldn't stop me at all. Get some grass planted there. Or if you hit the lottery, get it paved. Anyway, we really appreciate seeing these too, because we've heard about this house and obviously it lives up to our expectations. It exceeds them. Just looking at that flying field exceeds my expectations. Anyway, I like the pathway going from the house out to the outbuilding, or the whatever we should call that, the garage. Obviously they have propane. I think that's really cool, Rich. And we're really, now you've got us, especially Karen here, after seeing these, she's excited about coming down there. Well, we're excited about even going to the old house. And Karen said she's gonna give you a lesson in how to drive that tractor. She's gonna teach you the fine points of leveling land. Anyway, that's pretty cool. And on this rainy day, that stuff really made our day complete. You know, I have to admit, I really do enjoy sharing the world through the internet like this, and boy, Rich, we're jealous. We got more rain than you have mud down there. We're looking forward to coming down though, and it's only a couple of months away. Now one of our goals here is, and we've just got another coat just on that bad spot on a flap. That's got to dry up. I'm hoping I can show these bad spots. And that's one of the spots we have to work on as soon as this dries up. Now we really waited this day out to see if the rain was going to subside, and you know what? It's time to cut our losses. But you know what? On a day like today, it's a great day to run the trains. Do a little visit, take a cup of coffee up to the SpitFire bedroom, and think about some of the other possibilities that we have. And we have a lot of possibilities, a lot of decisions we're going to have to make. Boy, and I'll tell you one thing, when it's a rainy day all day, and you need a little diversion from the work in the shop, nothing beats having that attic, that SpitFire room, and a model railroad. Well, Miss Ashley is on the way to California. Let's hope she gets there in one piece. Millie's still doing fine. Millie's hanging out with the tiger cat here, ready to return to service at any time. And when I'm up here, what I always try to do, and it's kind of my own little pet little thing, I try to look at what are the features of these models that I enjoyed so much about building them and flying them, the cockpit detail of course, the ink work, what made them special to me. I just love the SpitFire, period, and I'm sure Joe too. But it's a special little place in my life that I can come up here at the end of a tough day, a long day, and we certainly used the day effectively for getting the silver parts painted, but we're not gonna even think about doing that wing today. It's just not happening. Now I also was thinking, and I guess it's just what I do at the end of every day. I was just thinking, how much fun is it, or how unique is it to have a room like this somewhere in your house? I know Gerald Champ at one time wanted to make a Reno Air Race room. Well, you could hang flags up, and in my case I got all of the top 5 pictures that the SpitFires were in hanging around here, and Al's Millie and Ferrari flags and stuff. But I think everybody needs, and these are just some of the hats that we've saved over the years from Duxford, one of our favorites, of course. Ron Keith's models, but this little room, just to me, it just represents some of the posters Gerald Champ made. It just represents just a great way at the end of a workday of unwinding. Now in the summer, of course, we love to go sit out by the fish pond, have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee or whatever. But the thing I wanted to look at today was, you see the width of the landing gear on the SpitFire here? Landing gear are closer together. And look at that real close, because that's one of the things I changed from my wing to Joe's wing. My gear are going to be about 2 inches closer together. I don't know if that's going to represent a more scale look or something I'm not going to be happy with. We'll find out. And on the original SpitFire, you can see how far apart the gear were. They were 2 inches each side, so a total of 4 inches. 4 inches further apart, but again, less scale. And I think a little more scale. But it'll be interesting to see how it evolves with the smaller tails, bigger rudders, wider fuses. There's really not many parts interchangeable, except maybe some of the wing ribs or whatever, because these don't have the dihedral, of course. But as I look back, it's just hard not to look back at this. And this was about a 5-year period that we did these SpitFires and flew them, of course. Made the Walker fly off every single time and won the concourse every single time. So in a way, that's kind of a unique thing. I can't say that was a bad time of my life. It's hard to look back and not, and the 5-bladed props, of course. And I did speak to Doran. Doran, I'm glad you're not driving the ambulance. He's still trying to come up with a way of using his molds to make 5-bladed props. Maybe we'll have to do it for him. I'm not sure of that. We're going to see. But boy, between the SpitFire bedroom and the model railroad, I'll get myself a few minutes of relaxation here. We're coming up on Super Bowl weekend, and we've been invited to a big party at a friend's house, so we have to do some preparation for that. Karen's going to be bringing some stuff, and it's the kids' birthdays. God, there's a lot of things going on in my life all at the same time. But it's something, you come up here to the model railroad and the problems of the world just, they stay downstairs. They never come up into this room. Well, tonight it's our lovely birthday party. One day to birthday party, and we have a little treat. Our neighbor's daughter, it's her birthday too, so we're going to sneak over and have cupcakes over at their party too tonight. But we were hoping we'd get a little sunshine today to get that wing in silver, and it looks like God has finally smiled upon us. We finally have an end to the rain. Having ice cream sundaes next door tonight.
We're doing cupcakes here.
And how often do you get invited to a 9-year-old's birthday party? How old is she, 9 or 10?
10.
At least we have some sunshine for doing our painting. Oh God, that rain yesterday. Unbelievable. Even my birds have dried out. Your first thing today, before the wind comes up, before we have any more bad weather, I sprayed on a coat of silver. This is going to dry, and again, what I'm doing, I'm not putting it by the heating vent, I'm putting it off to the side, but it's relatively relatively warm up there anyway. Once this dries up, we'll be able to look and see if we're 1 coat away, 2 coats away, 10 coats away, who knows. But this has to dry up at least 2 or 3 hours now before we can do anything else. This is amazing. There's sunlight actually coming in the room. Now, this is important. When you're having your Brodak dope dry, you need a snack.
You have plenty.
Oh, they look good. Too bad Cafaro's not here. He had a few. Munch these right up, baby. Oh, yeah. I'm in the mood for a birthday party today. Why can't it be my birthday? Give me one of those Ducatis, those $72,000 Ducatis.
These are the leftovers, so these are for you.
Okay, well, that'll certainly make that silver dope dry a lot quicker. Oh, everything's drying up. The cupcakes are cupcaking along. We'll be ready to start sanding out that wing very soon. Couple hours. Oh man, the smell of cupcakes is everywhere. And what I wanted to do, I wanted to take a look at this. We got a little time here while everything's drying up on that wing, and while it looks like we do have a dry enough day, we're not going to get rained on, maybe. Maybe, oh boy, we have really been through some rough weather here. Now what I'm hoping is this is going to be, because it looks pretty good, and what I usually do when I think I look at the last coat and I say, yeah, that's looking almost good enough, then I always want to sand it one more time. And usually that last sanding now is just it goes very quickly because it's really a detail sanding. We're not taking off a lot of material. We just want to impart a smooth surface. I kiss all the edges. And I'm guessing all we're going to need is just the slightest little coat on this. And I think we've arrived at the point where these parts, well, we may even get the wing done in the next couple of days. But even if I'm saving the wing to last, so it's up there drying away. These parts have been drying for a day or so, and they'll sand out just about as quick as can be. But that's the whole idea with my little technique of finishing, is there's always something drying while you're working on something that's needing another coat. And again, we really have to take advantage of this weather, because this time of year we could get a big snowstorm and that'd just about kill everything. But that looks like it's going to be ready for the last coat, or at worst the next to the last coat. Now the most significant thing here that I guess we can share at this point is, when you get up to the last coat of silver, or what you think is going to be the last or next to last coat, you should see no mistakes. You should see nothing except possibly some area that might be a little dry where you'll want to put a little extra material, a little extra paint, either clear or silver or both. Now once the wing final dries up, I think the wing is going to need more though, because we did have a couple of spots that were looking like they needed more. I don't know how to explain it. It looked dry, and I think again that the thing that would have made it a little bit more efficient, maybe not, you don't really know, you never really know, is just getting a one extra coat of clear under the first coat of silver. But now you can see, now this part's a good example. Let me show this up close. What this is showing you is there's a little low spot here, so when we go to put the next coat of silver on, I'll make sure I get a little extra, a little low spot here. But this is the worst of all worlds, because you have a high spot that's coming through and a low spot. So it could be, if these were a lot worse, and I can't feel that with my finger, so I know it's not horrible, then we would have to resort to using some material like nitrostain. I really try to absolutely use this only when I need it. But if this were a larger divot, or if this were a larger divot, I'd have to just take a razor blade or a spatula and trowel on a little bit of that. The trouble with that material is, and again, keep in mind, this material is, this can kill you. It's heavy, it adds no strength, and it's prone to crack with vibration because it's made for cars. It's made where you can just trowel it on an inch thick, and who cares? And even if you do use this, for sure, one of the things you want to do absolutely is do a lot of thin coats, not one thick coat, and never try to make fillets or fill in giant holes in things with it. It's made to be used at the thickest it would be, is just like a piece of paper. Now, one of the reasons I like this system of using dope instead of whatever the alternatives would be, the two things that it is, for sure, there's more labor involved, but you can avoid all the labor by just not building planes. Just go, you know, sit and watch baseball games or something, and then there's no labor. But I find this to be relaxing, and I never try to do this when I'm not feeling like, well, like I could use a little relaxation. Now you notice this last coat, how quick it sands out, because we're not knocking down giant mountaintops. And if you're spending too much time, you kind of defeat the whole purpose of doing it then. Because we don't want to take off all the material. We've very carefully built this up to where it's almost flat, and we've got that nice smooth coat on, and I don't want to go back to raw wood, that's for sure. But on the other hand, as soon as I see the little spots coming through, I know I've kind of leveled this off, and I'm ready for another coat. Now when I go to mix that material for the last coat, what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to decant that silver just a little bit. Just try to pour off the top a little bit, then shake it up. It's a very simple reason is what I want to do is from this point on, I want to get very, very thin coats of silver on. I don't want to just blow it on, because this last coat, I may not sand off. This may be my final coat, and I'll decant it just a little bit, just enough that I can get a thin, smooth coat on. But even if I have to sand it off again, it doesn't matter if you sand it off 1,000 times, as long as you sand it off. Where you get in trouble is when you put it on and don't sand it off. That's where you have a problem. On a flap, you can see right here, I'll try to candle it right here, is what amounts to be a tiny dry spot. Now, that dry spot, if I were to paint right over it, yeah, I probably would be able to just bury it in the next color of paint. But I'm always happier when I see that last coat of silver, because I think we're one coat away now on the flaps and those little parts. And I can mix that silver, I can decant it. Decanting meaning there'll be extra pigment, and I'll get a micro thin, nice, beautiful thin coat of silver on it. Up here, no dry spots, little dry spot down there. Other than that, nothing major. So this will be a quick sand out. This won't be a major, this will be a 5-minute thing to get this sanded out. The other flap I know has some areas I want to address. This will be easy, and I want to, when I paint it, I want to remember that I have a little dry spot right up around here. And I remember many times thinking, well, it's not the end of the world, even if I sanded out the last coat of silver, and I didn't need to, but I sanded it out one extra time. Because what happens once it's all flattened out, and this is what I really wanted to show as the final thing here, when you get toward the end of the silver sand out, here's what happens. It just sands right out. I mean, it sands out in a matter of, sometimes I'm watching a football game or whatever, and I turn around and on a set of downs, I got a flap set out or something. So it's the first coat, if you keep that in mind, that's difficult to sand out because you're really knocking down mountaintops. When you get down to these last coats, there's not much going on here. We're not knocking a lot down. And you can see how quick this is going, and I mean, one side of this is just going to go, is what's going to happen. Now, when we get to the wing, I want that wing to be drying right to the last minute, of course. In fact, it probably would be advantageous to let it sit overnight, but because we're planning on this party today, or several parties, what I'm trying to do is, I'm just trying to maximize the use of my time here. And if you see, what's encouraging about it is a lot of times you get to that next to the last coat and you don't want to sand it out one more time. And you think, that's good enough. Nobody will see that. But if you take the time, and if you're wrong the other way and you sand it out one time too many, believe me, nothing bad will happen. It's when you shortchange yourself. Now this probably took a minute and a half, and that's what I'm looking for. When I start getting to those last coats of silver, any place that looks like right here, there's a lot of silver, because all I'm really leaving is the silver that's down in the moon craters and down in the bad spots. And of course, every time we do this is all the edges, kiss all the edges, just touch them. I'll get my hinge pocket tool, do that. Now that's probably, I'm gonna guess, under 2 minutes to do one side. And sometimes if you know how long it's gonna take, and you see it's taking a lot longer, well, maybe something's wrong. What could be wrong is you're not letting it dry long enough. Maybe in some colder conditions, this might wanna take 48 hours to dry. But typically, a couple of drops of dish water, dish soap in the dish water, just so it's got a little bit of foam on it, that's all that is. 600 sandpaper. And by the way, in the course of doing this, Ramo Barkhead called, and he's sanding his silver and picking up a lot of good tips off the video, which always makes me happy to know that my work is not in vain. Oh, the flaps sanded out. I'm pretty sure they're ready. All our little parts are ready. There's only one thing left, and of course we always save the biggest, most intricate part for last. Give that some extra dry time, and this is the part where you really, I call it, you really have to suck it up and just you get bored and you get tired and you want to just get on with the next step. But I know this wing is going to require at least one more sand out. You know, as I look it over, I can see, there's a spot there we really have to work on. Some little dents down here at the trailing edge. And I look at it, there was a spot, and luckily they're both on the bottom. Some really rough stuff was on the bottom. Middle of the wing is going to need some more sanding, I can see that. We really, now I'm sure that this should have had one more coat of clear underneath the silver. Out here we can still see that scratch, but that'll be gone in one more coat. The tissue areas look like they're ready for a final sand out. Again, I always try to evaluate this and try to find the biggest of the mistakes, and this one certainly sanded out well, that's no problem. Dry spot right there, you can see if you look really close. See if you can see, I'm not sure what angle would show that. And we have this spot out here that right at the last bay, I'll work on that, and there's a dry spot right out here. Now, the difference is with tissue parts, I'm going to really take my time and be delicate about this. Now, and I may not finish this before Karen's ready to move on to the next step of prepping for her party, but I can get some of it done. The solid wood parts go very quick, really quick. These parts, especially the tissue areas now, and when I was doing the silver, I put extra around each one of the bays, and you can see there's even a little extra shine on it, but this will require some time. Now there's another philosophy to this too, that if you were to skip one of these sand outs and you're all done and you buff the plane and fly it and wow, it trims out beautifully, it's a great plane, you can't go back and do this. That's the problem. And you can't just bury some of these mistakes in clear without paying some kind of giant weight penalty. This coat of silver has to be, the final coat has to be ultra, ultra thin. Now, the wooden parts that are solid wood are not a problem. And we'll go through these the same way we went through the flaps, and these parts will sand out. I'm not worried about this being a problem. But when we get to the tissue areas and the edges of the tissue, we're gonna be very, very careful and very, very delicate. And each coat, as I said before, each coat gets a little easier to sand out. Each coat, there's less and less of these big flaws to work on. And at some point in time, if we only had one or two little flaws, I wouldn't sand the whole plane out. I'll just sand those little areas out. And at some point we may do that. But right now there's enough of them, enough little spots on this that I think it's just easier to sand out the whole thing. And I got a great tip for you. If your arm gets tired, there's a product called Icy Hot Patches that in the last couple of years Karen and I have both taken advantage of when we overdo it on anything. Icy Hot, they work great if you overdo it. Now I'm going to do a little bit more on this. I'm looking and I'm seeing, gee, I don't want to, maybe not too much more. Don't want to overdo it. But now, for one open bay, I want to really be careful with these bays. I don't want to get too cute. But if you keep in mind that each coat is going to get nicer and nicer each time we do this on the first time we sanded it, we probably had 10 times the amount of flaws we have now. And each time you get rid of them, it just gets better. And in our case, we're not building up an inordinate amount of weight. If we were to just take auto primer, for instance, and cover everything up and decoupage it and clear, you have this incredibly nice finish, and the plane is, 10 ounces too heavy. So the difficult part of model aviation, or this particular event is, as opposed maybe to scale, is keeping the weight down and having that real jewel-like finish where there are no obvious mistakes. And that's especially true on an open bay wing. A lot easier to do a carbon fiber wing, a midgley wing, a foam wing. Anything with open bays is always a little more work. Now here's the hard part of doing this, and I want to show this up close. The difficult part of really making this part of it really spectacular in the final buff out. Now see these little areas up in the corner? It's very difficult to get up in the corner here without cutting that edge. And what I've done over the years, I've tried all different things like steel wool, Brillo, other things. Nothing beats sandpaper, but the sandpaper that I like to use is I leave it sit in here overnight or some amount of time, and it gets soft. And as it gets soft, you can get it under your finger and get right up in the corner. And getting these, now this is where I take a little tiny piece, especially if it's real soft, and try to get right up in the corner and edge. And I stop as soon as it's dull. As soon as it's dull, I'm done, because I don't want to go through. And I want to get that exact edge, and it's always difficult. This is where it's going to be time consuming, and I'd say each panel here is going to take 4 or 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But in the final, when this is buffed out, that makes all the difference in the world. And you don't get that tremendous buildup of paint. And I'll just do one on camera and do the rest off camera, because this is getting really redundant, and I can imagine how boring it is to watch. It's boring enough to do it, believe me. But this is the thing that separates a lot of the planes, where you put all that work, all that energy in, and if they're too heavy, it's just very frustrating. If you go with this system, that's hopefully one of the things you won't have, is that extra amount of weight on the plane. And then you can put things like canopy details and bigger wheels and different things on. But anyway, not to belabor this, we'll do the most of the rest of this unless I find some trick thing on camera, or if there's a spot that's so bad I have to use nitrostain, and I hope there isn't. And Karen's got the house smelling like cupcakes while we're doing this, so that really takes your mind off it a little bit too. And when I know I'm going to have a couple hours of sanding and whatever, or buffing, nothing is better than just snapping on some video and just taking your mind off it, because I can be watching television while I'm doing this. I don't need to be looking at this. I can do this all by feel if I want to. Well, the first half of the wing went pretty quickly, but again, these are the errors we really needed to work on. There was some that I'm going to let this dry while Karen and I go out and have some lunch, but I really do want to get as many of these corrections made as I can, and I can't for the life of me think of one good reason to rush it. And when I get back from lunch, the red lead really only has to dry maybe half an hour, but we'll let it dry. We'll go have some lunch, and this afternoon try to finish up the bottom of it. Alright, we're back from lunch, and this should be dry by now. Now, one of the good tips on using this material is, when you're going to do very paper thin, and which this is, by the way, add a little bit of either Brodak retarder or acetone to it to thin it out. It'll get a better bond then. If you use it dry, without doing that, if you use it right out of the tube, a lot of times when you get down to these little tiny areas like this, what's going to happen is they just chunk and come out. It's the same as with dope. You don't get the adhesion. Whenever something dries quickly, you don't get the right adhesion. And that's really, once you understand that, the rest is kind of easy. Now what they are, those are spots that are in those little moon craters. It'll save me from putting, I could put 4, 5, 6 extra coats of dope, or I could use that. It's just an expedient way of doing it. And it's the same thing out there. I'll repeat it. And I have one over here that I need to do. But it just lets me do it very quickly. The other thing, whenever I get to the outer tip like this, I really don't give a lot of thought to trying to keep the paint minimized. Plus we're going to put tip weight in the model, of course. We've already got a 1/2 ounce in there. We already have that 1/2 ounce of asymmetry. But even so, I want it to be sanded smooth, and I don't want any flaws. And I'm hoping this afternoon the weather's going to hold up, because it is a nice dry day to spray out there if it'll hold up, but you never know. A couple hours from now it could be raining or snowing, who knows. I try never to get too emotionally attached to the weather. Now, funny story to that, there's about, I think it's a couple of thousand people, in fact, that had bought into this package of, there was a ticket, the transportation, and the Super Bowl ticket from our area, of course, to see the Giants in the Super Bowl. And because of some glitch in the weather or whatever, they're all stranded. They're not going to, maybe not going to get to the Super Bowl. Tomorrow is Super Bowl day. Birthday day, Super Bowl day. But every day is SpitFire day. Every day is sanding silver day. But anyway, I think we're only a couple of days away from, we'll have a day of doing the take apart features for the wing to the fuselage, and then it'll be on to finishing up the fuses. Dave has told us the canopies are going to be done in at least a week, minimum of a week. Or is it a maximum of a week? I don't know. Anyway, we should make the deadline and we should be able to get another and or the last coat of silver on this before the day's over. And that last coat will be decanted down to where I'll try to get the pressure down, decant it, thin it, just get a paper thin coat of silver. That is another area up on the front I'm going to have to address one by one. This one came out real nice. There's one out on the other tip, but it's basically all redundant from this point on. Now the next thing I need to do, we're all sanded out here and it looks like we have weather that would be, this goes right in the washer of course. I need to get some M600. I got some right here. In fact, I got a little I never seem to get every one. And I'm not sure why. Something to do with that lucky day thing. Anyway, I want to get some M600 here if I can. We don't have much of this left. When we used to be able to buy this in Jersey, what a joy it was. No more. And Joe gets me a little bit every once in a while, but right now from this point on, every time we get ready to paint, put another coat on, we'll of course be using this, and that's why I've saved it and not used it up as a sanding liquid. I think we're just going to make it. I hope we're just going to make it anyway. You never, in this day, you never can tell. If I can get a coat of silver on this, tonight's the kid's birthday party. The party will be a lot more fun if I know paint is drying. Now, I'm going to decant this silver, for sure.
And this is more than just a service to the wizard. I have a personal story.
Now, the decanting that I want to do, this is the silver. I'll just take a little jar, and I do this by eye. This is not a scientific thing, but when I want to put the last coat on, I want to pour off the top that doesn't have, maybe to pour about, in this case, maybe a third of it, 20-30% of it. It's not real critical. This I can use up for when I do the fuselage. Now this part here, this in essence, this has extra pigment in it. So when I load up the gun, this will have just a little more pigment, because especially silver. Boy, you notice how nice and clean that jar is? I love old tools, and I love jars of paint that are all looking like candles. Why is that? I don't know. That's a good question. Anyway, now this material that I have in my hand here has roughly 1/3 more than the normal amount of pigment. So now when I go to spray this, this should cover a little quicker, let me spray on just a little thinner of a coat. And I'm not sure why. Because years ago I used to keep everything neat as a pin and wipe things down and clean guns. And basically now what I do, and maybe this is a trick that maybe it's true and maybe it isn't, I don't even know. Now I spend the time sanding. And in the end, when I look at my model and I've got 20 or 30 extra hours of sanding and somebody else has a clean spray gun, I start to wonder who won that battle. Well, we'll get that old compressor fired up and see if we can get this coat of silver on before the party starts. This day started off sunny, but they're predicting snow right now. So it'll be really good if we can get, and again, this is going to be hopefully a piled up here in this stuff. And that's all I really want to get is one nice thin coat on that. You can actually see the sun reflecting in it, what's left of the sun. Pink clouds is what's left. Then I can really get a nice thin coat on there. Now the wind is, just when you go to get the wing or the flaps or something, the wind starts coming up. Unbelievable. Well, despite the breeze, we're getting this coat on. But the idea is to get it on as thin as possible. That's where that extra, the little decanting comes in handy. And when we know we're gonna sand the coat out, we try to get it on a lot thicker. When you know there's a chance it might be the last coat, then we want that ultra fine thin coat. And a decanted material usually covers a little bit better. I can see the little spots that might be dry right now. I also got the pressure way down on this. And that's what I want, is that just minimum thin coat, almost like an airbrush coat. This is why I always try to memorize where any bad spots might be. Then I know, on this flap, I know right where they are and I can go through them. Even in this case, put just a little bit extra on there. Seems like it was just yesterday and the football season was starting. And tomorrow's the Super Bowl. Boy, if there ever was a case that time goes fast, this year is it. Boy, I'd give anything for that wind just to stop for a few minutes. Even though you can work with that wind, it's just annoying. Just really would love to. Well, you know, Richard Oliver's new house, new shop, he'll never have to deal with that. That's why I don't respect him as a man. You gotta learn to tough it out. You gotta have dirty tools and dirty spray guns. Not sure that's good logic. Not sure at all. And we're coming up on a point in time when I really get excited about every day getting down in the shop and seeing the next I don't know, next steps unfold, evolve. Now we can just get the wing painted before the storm comes. I wish I could block the wind a little better.
Maybe I'll just have to put some weight on. If I can block the wind better. See, this goes on a lot slower than when you're just putting on what amounts to be the coats you're going to sand off. Always getting extra on the ribs and the caps, around the edges. Oh, come on, wind, just stop for 5 minutes. The wind is shifting again. Wouldn't you think it's bad enough we have to deal with the wind when you fly? You got to deal with it when you paint. Well, it looks like we got a relatively nice thin coat going down here, I hope. Difficult to hold it from certain. Well, nothing's ever easy in the world of model plane. The trouble is when you're painting late in the day like this, it's always a few degrees colder, which just makes it a little more difficult to get the paint to lay down, but we'll get it. Anyway, it's usually times like this that I think just how much fun it's going to be. Out at Brodax, having his 2 SpitFires out there on the starting line. Kind of makes the memory of these cold days worthwhile. Never have too much on those open days, those edges. Now the fun part, in the middle. This is always challenging. What am I laughing about? Everything's challenging. I want to get extra up on a leading edge, of course. I'm just looking around. There's that one bad spot that I don't know is going to be totally under control. There's that one dry spot we had out there. That was a dry spot. Come on, wind, stop blowing. Right out loud. Enough. Well, we're sneaking up on it. Once we bring this in from the garage, and usually a half an hour out there is all it needs. Oh, what a bleak sky. They're predicting snow. Oh my God. Am I glad that silver's on there. That'll make the party even more enjoyable tonight. Well, it's been a long time coming, and I've just been waiting for the day to see this guy in silver. And there's still a few little areas, believe it or not, they're all on the bottom too. But that really is, I think we're getting very, very close to having our final coat of silver, and I'll have to look at it, of course, tomorrow or the next day, make a decision. And every time I build one of these SpitFire wings, I just look at them. Each one's a little different. Oh boy, there's something about a SpitFire wing. Not quite sure what it is, but I know it works for me.
Love those Spitfires.
This in today's email is from John Cafaro. This is his dad's 10 by 20. This looks like old pre-World War II classic stuff. It's a 10 by 20 layout. Now I'm assuming this is John Cafaro's dad's house. Hey, he doesn't have my stocking on the thing. Anyway, maybe it's John's house. He didn't say. He sent a little program, but I couldn't download it to, well, I'll talk to him about the program separately. Very cool. Love those old trains. And boy, they're worth a fortune, by the way. Now this is this little program that we just I guess we downloaded it here. Hold on one second, let's see what happens. Oh, it shows the smoking unit. Very cool. Very cool. Now I wonder if that's an MTH or a real line L. I'm not sure. We'll find out more from John. Here's some more pictures of Richard Oliver's backyard flying field, private flying field. Not sure. I guess that's the property line. That's how they mark the property line in Texas. I don't know. Looks like nice flat property, huh? I'm sure this is going to be a great place to fly when Rich is done with it. Here's what Karen affectionately calls the Ponderosa, the hacienda here. These trees look like the trees in my backyard while I was painting. Not sure. Do they really have winter in Houston? That can't be winter. You might be wondering, where does Rich Oliver get all the money for this fancy property? Look right here. He's growing marijuana. That's where he gets the money from. Better put some fertilizer on it there, boy. Yeah, Rich, I have to tell you, you've made Karen and I very jealous. Very jealous. Having your own flying field in your backyard. There can't be anything better. You know, a house is a house, and you know, anybody can have a house, but it's a house with a flying field that makes it different. I like the porch. Now look at the porch. It's done with real tree trunks. That's pretty neat. I guess that's Lake Ertnowski out there or something. Just in case Rich wants to make one of those little RC planes that rises off the water. Look at that, right off his deck. How cool is that? That's really some nice house, Rich. Rich and Edie both. Karen and I are jealous. I gotta say it over and over again. Look at the front door, it's nice. This looks like the front view of the house, showing the porch. I like the windows up in the top there, nice. What do you think, Car?
Looks like a ranch.
A ranch, yeah.
Look at the size of the porch.
It needs a little Victorian stuff up there.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, not in Texas. Another picture of front view. I just think, this spring we're all going to be sitting out here on a porch drinking pina coladas and buffing out Rich Oliver's new plane. And this is what Rich was telling me. The fireplace is inside the house and part of it's outside. So there's a barbecue or a cooker here. And she's got an outdoor,
Sink.
we saw that on TV, outdoor, like a little kitchenette or whatever. Karen says she approves of the kitchen.
Very nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Nice light wood. This is nice on top too.
Yeah, she had that in the other house too, I think. It's nice.
It's nice. They got a little television there and everything. Well, we'll be seeing it. Where's the lemons? Where do you see? Oh yeah, yeah. And I thought they were real lemons, and I tried to eat one, and it turned out they were wax. Is the stairway going up?
Nice stone fireplace.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the fireplace that goes outside.
That's the one side is inside and one side is outside.
Nice.
I think it has a big cathedral ceiling there.
Nice railing.
Very, very nice. There's the outdoor part of the fireplace and a little kitchenette, outdoor kitchenette. Now I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but that this is Richard's workshop. I'm not sure, but obviously when we're down there, we'll see. Another view of the outdoor kitchen. That is really cool. Anyway, Rich, again, thanks for sharing the pictures. We just love sharing all this stuff, and boy, it even whets our appetite even more for the next trip down there. Coming soon. Well, it looks like we got one more little thing off our ongoing list. The silver's drying up really nice. And as we get ready for the party, I just can't help looking it over one more time. There's a couple of tiny little flaws, but it will not need another coat of silver. I think that's going to do it. There may be one or two little spots if I can't get them with a touch-up, but I think that's going to be as good as it gets. Boy, that's a milestone in the SpitFire project. Probably won't do it again. Time for the lovely children to have their birthday party. Ah, it's so nice. Now, because it's your birthday, you get to sit in the king's chair. Let him sit where the king sits.
My seat is fine.
No, let him sit where the king sits. Get used to it. You're going to be the king of the family someday. You're going to have the power that I have
That's fine.
to determine life and death.
Sit where the king sits.
Hard to believe he's 28 years old. Look, he's so cute.
28, God. Damn, where'd the time go?
28, wow.
Where did it all go?
Soon I'll be 30.
That's right, it must be 24, and that is not bad.
Is the 28 too young
To Robert,
Let's have a toast.
36 years old. Happy birthday to Craig, 32 years old.
To the
And
changing of the
congratulations to
guard.
Maddie for her new job.
Yes.
You got a new job?
Yeah.
New job.
Yeah, you got a new job.
Hey.
Cheers, Wendy.
I'm working for a white collar
Don't spill the wine.
Isn't that cool?
I could
That
try
is
to
cool.
glad.
You know what I told him?
That's cool.
Oh, you know, I'm really fascinated about this job because I watch Court TV all the time. He started laughing.
That's really, that's
Court TV's now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Special dinner for Don Corleone here at the birthday party.
Marsala,
And Marsala.
Here's a
roasted potatoes, and fried asparagus.
Now, fried asparagus.
Uh-huh.
Is that by the request of the birthday boys? They want fried asparagus?
Yes.
A birthday boy special request.
Vegetable special, right?
Are
Actually,
you
it wasn't
having,
quality
Maddie, you
vegetable.
having asparagus too?
Right.
I am,
Today-
and chicken.
I was doing things in the bedroom, I was showering,
Yeah.
come out,
Yeah.
I put the TV on and Paula Dean was on and she said, I'm making what you all know I love best. I'm making fried food.
Yeah.
And I missed it. I was doing my hair.
I like her.
I love her. I was doing my hair. I came out of the bathroom and she was doing fried.
$3,500.
Blow out the candles. We're going next door for ice cream sundaes. Hey, ice cream. Our neighbor's daughter Elizabeth, it's her birthday too, so she had a professional soccer player take the kids and give them a soccer lesson today. That was their birthday present, but now they invited us to come over there and have ice cream. Ice cream sundaes with the neighbors.
Look at those cupcakes. Oh my God, look at those cup. We're gonna come back and have cupcakes after we have ice cream. Stacy was trying to blow out the battery-powered candles in the living room. What kind of daughter do you have anyway? Enzo, it's a tough life being Enzo the rooster.
Where are your keys?
Off to see the neighbors. Now, believe it or not, you see up in that top room there? You can't really see it. He's got the biggest collection of cardinals. He's got Stan Musial stuff, baseballs.
How are you?
Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey.
Hi, how are you? How you doing? Nice to see you.
Hey, hey, he's here. Hey, hey, hey. Anybody, where'd the stripper go? Oh, there she is. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, we're gonna make you famous. Where's my ice cream? What the hell you got? Hey. All right. You guys are okay. I don't care. Where's the kid? Hey, how are you? Where's the kids?
Wendy's here.
All right, I'm a professional soccer player. You guys want a free lesson?
Oh, we opened the door.
Open the door?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have another one. I'm gonna leave it on the floor, so when you finish, you can open it, okay?
Who's your favorite neighbor?
For money? For cash?
Karen! Karen! Who's your second favorite neighbor?
When she was 3, it was with him.
So what'd you get? Show me these presents you got. Wow.
I'm done.
Whoa!
I got piggy slippers.
Piggy slippers.
Very nice.
Oh! Can I borrow
You
them?
better open that gift, because I think it goes with the piggy slipper.
Yeah.
My hands are dirty.
You know what's in that box? We caught a mouse in a mousetrap this morning. It's in that box.
I don't find it funny.
No chance.
Watch out, he doesn't sneak out.
You guys want ice cream?
Sure. Oh, definitely.
We want to see
Oh, I heard. I heard.
We want to see some presents.
But you know what? I gotta watch her open her presents quick.
Who's your third favorite neighbor? Starts with a W.
Dale?
Where am I on this list? Not on the list. I fell off the list.
Yep.
Yep.
Come on, let's see what you got. Come on. That mouse is going to run out of air in there. He'll die.
I think it's from children's place.
It is?
Let's
Oh.
film the mouse in children's.
Watch out for that mouse. There he is.
I don't think so. Ooh, mommy, I got a shirt.
No, you didn't. You got pajamas.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
I knew that. Mommy, I got pajamas.
She's got her piggy slippers.
You know, they look like the clothes you wear when you're in prison, don't they?
Oh, come on.
Prison pajamas.
Very funny.
We have 4
You
bucks.
want to try them on for us?
We got accoutrements we have.
Thank you very much.
Well, what are the odds that we'd have 3 birthdays on the same day in one family here? It's both of the kids' birthday. Today, yeah. Not it.
My brother and I were born on the same day.
On my birthday, I'm the only one in the whole world ever born on that day. August the 16th. You know the only thing ever happened on August the 16th? Elvis Presley died. The only thing ever happened. Presley died, No, it's a good thing I did all that buffing because all of that wet sanding, I can eat all the ice cream I want. Right, Craig? Of course, right. Fatten them up. Come on, fatten them up. Fatten them up.
Look at the sprinkles too.
Oh,
All around it, right?
fatten them up. Fatten them up.
Thank you.
Come on, Rob. This way we'll get a decent day's work out of you tomorrow.
I already had one.
Another one.
Another one.
I'll tell her.
No. Karen will tell you. He went out to his garage and somebody put a toilet in his garage.
You did.
No, not me. That's one of the few things.
If someone put it in the garage, what can we do?
I take the blame. These perverts, I take the blame for this stuff.
Morning he woke up during the playoffs and there was a big banner, maybe an 8-foot banner on his front porch. And it said, "Let's go Mets." And there was a picture of a dead cardinal on the ground. So he's still running around the neighborhood trying to find out who did that.
Still to this day.
And he had, first person he asked was Wendy, because he knows Wendy's artistic.
Right around there.
Wendy, did you do that? Wendy said, no! He went to every house. Nobody will fess
Because he knows
up.
when he's artistic and crazy.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
So now
Well, at least we know he's crazy.
so now
Now, who does this remind you of?
I'm sure I shouldn't take my.
Who does that remind you of?
Chris.
You're not coming?
What's your mother-in-law's name? I didn't introduce her, I forgot her name. What is it? Anna, okay.
Come on, we gotta go open presents. Come on, you. Let's go open presents. Come on, time to open presents.
And you get what's, you get this. Oh, and this is my note to tell you to do to do the phone, because there was no note on it.
Phone. This feels heavy like Spode. Ah,
Nah, I need to just have some.
It's dishes.
I'm going here. I want to see this card.
You have a card on the side.
this is safe. To save money in.
No, it's not.
I'm going too. I'm going at the same time.
It's not. It's
Wait.
Yeah, one at a time so we can.
Oh, how lucky can a woman be?
It's a Cuisinart.
A Cuisinart!
That's badass. Wow. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yay!
Hey!
For the man who loves to cook.
For the man who likes to wear a dress to the breakfast table.
Down the switch on.
Shouldn't have.
A man with piggy shoes.
$2 one at the local fair like you got would have been fine.
Well,
Ah,
I
but
knew
this
you.
is.
I knew you liked it, so you got your own.
Ah, you are worthy. You are worthy.
I was always asking you about it, wasn't I?
That's gonna give your
You
big
know-
press for my birthday.
I'm gonna open
Oh,
mine.
mini preps. Mini preps.
Making me feel so special. It's a special.
Well,
It's not every day we let you play at a dumpster all day.
This one first.
This one first.
Yeah. It's really all part of the same thing. No, it's not.
It's not a Cuisinart.
They don't have any more counter space. They don't get a Cuisinart.
Right. It's a charger. It's a battery charger. Could it be that there's something that uses batteries? Maybe?
It's Robo-Man.
Is it Roboman?
Oh,
You notice they're rechargeable.
I see they are rechargeables. That's good because
And with this gift,
it's
you'll
49
need it.
degrees in
You'll need it, believe me.
February.
Whoa.
Slice, shred, mix, chop, meat, or puree in seconds.
Wow.
You can mix Bondo with that too if you want to do some
Holy
body work.
moly! Did you know this?
no, but I did now when I saw this.
Holy!
Let's see, baby.
Yeah, you were trying. That's why I didn't ask either one of you what you wanted this year.
Let's see what it is.
Yeah, that's what you wanted.
How did you know that?
Because you made a comment the last time somebody used a digital camera that you
Craig.
don't have a camera.
Craig, what brand is it? Tell us the brand.
It's a Nikon. It's
A
It's a
Nikon.
Nikon.
Do we do brand
Woo!
names?
A Nikon. Look
Nikon
at
and a
you.
Cuisinart.
Oh my
Nikon.
Over the line, guys.
Who's the
It was a
luckier?
good year.
Do we do
Wow.
Yeah.
We do birthdays in this house.
Nikon.
Holy.
Craig, by the way, the Ducati dealer is open tomorrow if you guys want to go put a deposit on my.
That is very good.
Tom Cruise got my Ducati.
He gets spode.
I know.
Holy.
Now we can take pictures of the negro.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Are those authorized cupcakes? Are those authorized?
Hi, mommy.
Hi.
Are they authorized?
Mommy.
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 I love my mom. Like those like.
No.
Watch it, don't light your hair on fire or something.
Yeah, I did it. Look.
Yeah, Paul.
Oh yeah, you're talented.
Remember.
Ours is different. There
Ah. Arr.
The bride cuts the cake. Oh no, this isn't a wedding. Who's getting married here?
This is always the fire. Fire.
Don't mess with the fire.
That there's fire.
It's a fire sign.
Fire.
Who's next?
Sing, woman.
Thank you.
Sing.
Oh, okay.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Craig and Rob. Happy birthday to you. Yay!
Hey! Okay.
Oh, it's so creamy.
What a family.
So creamy.
This is like, all right.
Happy birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday, guys.
Happy birthday.
I want to have a little one.
Hey! Well, we had a great party last night. Super Bowl party's coming up. And I got a little time here to just thank everybody for enjoying these videos and sharing them. And we really feel like I've reached a milestone here with this silver. One of the things I encourage people more and more to do is just do that selective finishing to where there's a little extra finishing on the cap strips. We may have a couple little areas here that I might want to address later on, but pretty much the next step we're going to be working on this, we're going to be putting the wing and the fuselage joints. And as we end this video, I just try to look back to when we made these original drawings, made the cowl, made the tail section, and how we're sneaking up on having this really look like a Spitfire. Now, very soon, we're going to have this all in one piece, sitting on the floor just like this, probably not too far away. And this has really been one of the most enjoyable planes that I've ever built. And one of the reasons is it's just very enjoyable working with Joe Adamusco, and it was great having this winter of company and all the friends we had during the building of this. It'll be a Christmas that I'll never forget. And how long ago it was that we made up these sketches, and Joe came over for the first time. And now we look at it and it's all starting to evolve into a very interesting modeling project, I think. One of the most interesting for me. And every time I just lay it out on the floor like this, whenever I end the day, I kind of like to look at it, and it gives me something to dream about. And I'm sure once we start flying this, we'll have plenty of things to dream about. And hope you've enjoyed the DVD. Hey, it's Super Bowl day. And on Super Bowl day, take a wild guess what we're doing. Going to a Super Bowl party. And one more poster for our good friend Bill Rutherford, who's proudly rooting for the Giants tonight. I don't know. Bill, you better be true blue. That's all I got to say. True blue. And we're going to get his son to shoot some video. His son and grandson to shoot some video for us. And Bill has been an excellent participant in our Giants scam. Now, let's just hope they win the game. After all this mumbo jumbo, they turn out to be like the Cowboys. I don't know. We'll see. We'll know by tonight. Super Bowl Sunday. Ooh, I can smell it icing. Ooh.
This is
Super Bowl Sunday, and what are we doing? We're gonna bring these to the party?
these are lemon chiffon cupcakes. Look at the grated lemon rind.
We're gonna have to walk this afternoon. We're gonna have to walk to the Super Bowl party to walk off these calories. Wow. That is just beautiful, baby. You're making me hungry already.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Are these?
That is beautiful. What else are we bringing? Oh, we got the t-shirts.
We're
for
bringing
them,
them
too.
t-shirts.
Oh my God. Super Bowl, here we come. Win, lose, or draw. Patriots or Giants. Midgley's rooting for the Patriots. He's having his own party. We don't know about Rutherford if he's really voting, really rooting for us.
Oops, this is one for you. One chocolate one.
One?
And if you'd like, you can have.
What can a man do with one cupcake? That isn't even tip weight. This is what I want.
No, these are going to the party.
Oh.
That's for you.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with this
Oh my
philosophy.
God, the lemon is amazing.
Yeah, I can smell it. It smells good. Unbelievable.
Nice touch. I had lemon, so I grated it.
So good. Now, we reached a real milestone the day of the Super Bowl party. And what Karen decided to do, we want to walk today, of course. Got to do our little walk in the park here. The weather is reasonable outside, so she's got a couple little things she wanted to plan. And she says, how about a great idea, Wendy? Take a day off and celebrate. And I think she's right. This project has gone on so well, and it's been so much fun. I just think today will be a day of partying. We're going to do our walk and go feed the squirrel, among other things. And of all the projects that I've ever done, this one has to rank right up there with the best. And having the Giants in the Super Bowl, having our party tonight with our friends, having everything in silver here on Super Bowl day, early February 2008, this is kind of a special time for us. And as I look back, who would have ever thought this little guy here? Look at this little tchotchke here. Who would have ever thought? Here in the year 2008, we'd be building 90 SpitFires. Yep, even back then I was quite a ladies' man. But you know what? Today really is a day of rest, and we're going to enjoy every minute of it. Every minute. And Karen is right. I've been working pretty long and hard on this, and we'll get back to it tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll probably be ready to get the wing put in the body. You know, we're headed down to do our daily walk, and look who greets us. Bill Rutherford, the Giant fan. Oh man, Super Bowl Sunday. It turned out to be a beautiful day too. On the way to the field, Giant Mania has taken over Rutherford, New Jersey. Giant Mania, Super Bowl Sunday. Look at this, virtually everybody's in giant blue. Here's Eli Manning. Look at this, he's doing his leaf blower thing. Giant Mania. Kids are flying kites today. What a day. This would have been a flying day if it wasn't Super Bowl day. Super Bowl Karen. New Jersey's biggest Giant fan. Who's your favorite Giant beside me?
O.C. Numenura.
O.C. Numenura. O.C. Rutherford. Now after all the rain we've had, look at the flag.
Where is it?
What do you think? It's like 50 degrees out?
No.
Oh man.
Maybe 45.
You can bet your life the wild hogs are out at the field right now. Right this minute. Look at this, we have little Giants. Little Burris. Little Eli Manning here. Cool. We even have a female Eli Manning here. There's Mannings everywhere. We can't find our squirrel today. He's disappeared. We're so disappointed. She's getting ahead of me. Now usually our squirrel, time we go around here and whistle a few times, we have squirrels at each end of this field, but maybe because it's a nice day they went to a Super Bowl party, who knows. Here the Harleys in the background here. Holy mackerel. I'm sure the wild hogs are out there flying. There he is. Come on. Come on. Come on. Ba-dum. I thought we were abandoned. How could we be abandoned when we love this guy? Wait till Karen sees her Valentine card. I got her Valentine card with a squirrel on it. Come on, Blackie. Oh, Blackie, we love feeding you. Costing me a fortune, you know. Bad enough I gotta support Bill Rutherford. Gotta give him peanuts and orange crush. Come on, Blackie. We don't see his friend here today either. Look at that face. How could you not like feeding him? Isn't he cute? We're keeping you alive through a rough winter here, boy. Somebody make a nice pocketbook out of you or something. You'll be one of those have a heart. Oh, you're itchy too. Hey, I brought you extra peanuts today because we're going to a Super Bowl party. Extra peanuts. Can you imagine how generous that Wendy is? It's hard to believe. Where the hell did he go? He abandoned us for better peanuts. And we always end our walk trying to decide whether this looks more like Bill Rutherford or Dave Midgley. So far, they're the two finalists. I vote for kind of like, well, it does look a lot like Bill Rutherford. I don't know. Now, even though our black squirrel abandoned us, look at these cupcakes. This is part of what we're bringing to the Super Bowl party here. I have to tell you, I feel like sneaking one of these in when Karen's not looking, but... So do I look like Eli Manning? I don't think so. And Karen got us all matching shirts for the big celebration, or the big... Should have brought us crying towels if these guys take a whipping. Anyway, we have really enjoyed having the Giants in the Super Bowl, and we're going to have, with our friends Steph and Jim, a really good party. Now, you may remember Steph and Jim from when we went down to the shore, walked the Jersey Shore. But we'll be seeing their house that's in the town that Karen used to work, Secaucus, New Jersey. Oh, I don't get it. I don't look like Enzo Ferrari. She thinks I do. I don't look like Eli Manning. She says I do. I'm not sure that's a compliment. Anyway, we're off. This is the host of our Super Bowl party. Got the gift? Or you got to get out of the trunk?
Open the trunk for me. And they were walking and she was afraid of me.
Doggy's eating the cameras.
She's just
Eating the cameras.
It's,
oh, look at that face.
Oof.
Look at that face.
She's mean.
No, she's
telling you.
such a good
you
girl.
gonna calm down?
Well, you know what? I'm causing trouble.
Oh, no,
because
you're not. No,
because I'm playing with her.
She's a spark plug.
Let's get him. Come on. We know you're rooting for the Patriots. Patriots. Get a football, Jim. Get a football.
Come on.
Get a football.
We're making it crazy.
Get a football.
Oh, Stephanie will yell.
Patriot fans. See, this is what happens to Patriot fans. See this, Midgley? This is for Patriot
she
fans.
has a bottle?
She has a bottle. Patriot fans better not lose their bottle today.
What, baby? Oh.
It's giant football. Look, even Jim's got his shirt on.
For you, look.
Come on, Chris.
Karen's got her shirt on. Wendy's got his shirt on. You don't have a little shirt for the dog?
You know what?
Little giant shirt?
I should have gotten her a youth size.
Go Giants. Jim, you should see how many people have decorations in front of their house and Go Giants written on their car.
The flags on the car.
Oh,
flags
yeah.
on the cars, flags on the houses.
Unbelievable.
We went to the field today to go for a walk because it was so beautiful.
I wish
And
I
as
had
we're
stock
driving
in the
there, we see
Giants.
these blow-ups of giant
The big
flags.
giant, you know, they're the size of a house.
You ready? You want to show somebody? You want to do it?
We're going to eat an ice cookie
You didn't
here?
have to ask.
Not yet.
Whoa, look at this.
I'd
Oh,
like you
good.
down for me.
Oh,
Down,
oh,
down.
oh,
You
oh,
have a belly? Let me see your belly. Chrissy, let me see your belly.
Hey.
Oh,
Oh.
and I see the belly.
Oh.
Down. Down. Chris. Now let me see the belly. Hurry
Oh.
up. No, that's too far down. Let me see the belly.
What?
That's the belly. Oh.
Whoa.
All right, time for a cookie. Good girl.
Oh, what a good
Good
girl.
girl.
We'll let you eat Patriot uniforms later today.
That was the belly one, yeah.
Oh, she is so good.
Let's eat Brady's uniform.
Oh, so you got
I want to take a picture with everybody. Come on. So we all get the shirts on. The whole Giant team.
The whole giant.
No, go this way. This way, this way, this way, this way. The light is better this way. Okay, now I'm gonna get, there you go.
You're gonna get the picture?
I'm gonna get in a picture.
Okay.
And now we can have John Poppy steal a picture for us. John, steal a picture.
There you go.
Well, let's do one of these Eli Manning things.
How do you know if it goes?
It goes, kid.
Is
But
it
the
click?
dog doesn't have a shirt.
Does it click?
No,
Maybe
it's
she'll
video.
Oh, it's video.
Video. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we didn't even drink yet.
Go, John.
Okay, say hello to John Pothia. John, we want a picture from this one
We'll
picture.
make us a great picture.
He'll make a
Oh,
picture.
look, there
A
she
dog
goes.
with a Giants hat. How cool is this? John, if you can get a picture out of that sequence for us. Hold on, hold ice cookies right there.
Ice cookies, I got her.
Now, John Pothia has dogs too, so he can... John, you know what he's doing, Jim? He's taking a World War II plane, taking a pilot out and putting my picture in it.
Oh, that's cool.
So, how bad can it be a Giant shirt?
So maybe you can do something for
And if New England wins, he can just change all our shirts into New England shirts. Loyal Giant fans that we are.
Over there.
You can't take a still picture?
I don't have the memory stick with me.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready for some football? Are you ready for some football? Are you ready? They're coming out, baby. Are you ready for some football? I always record the first play of the game. Giants get the ball. Let's go, Giants.
All the way up the right side. Hold the ball, hold the ball, hold the ball. All right.
Pretty exciting so far, huh, kid?
She'll pose for you.
There's a lot of screaming going on. The Giants finally after what? Hey! Hey!
Don't tell me there wasn't a flag.
No!
Oh, how did we get
Oh my God! The Giants are ahead. Can you believe this?
I didn't need it.
Woo!
I didn't need it.
Who got it?
Steph, to be honest, this usually doesn't last long when you're a Giant fan.
Who caught the ball?
A touchdown! I don't believe it! I don't believe it! Oh my God! I don't believe it! Oh my God! The
35.
35 seconds and oh,
Come on, let's get the point after.
oh!
Chrissy, it's all yours.
Give it
Yeah,
back.
but Brady can still get a touchdown, a thing and tie it. Oh my God! What a game!
Off return.
Put your hat, put your shirt on.
Gotta put my hat
Woo! Go Big Blue!
I'm going up.
Woo!
Yes, sorry, boys and girls.
What a game! What a game! Bill Rutherford must be jumping, dancing, rooting for the Patriots. 10 seconds. They got 2 plays left. Oh my God! The bookies must be going nuts.
Don't foul. Don't foul.
No.
Don't foul.
Broken up!
2 seconds. Oh, you got 2.
No, 2 seconds.
Oh, it's over. It's over.
Giants win. Okay. Hey! Let's see that shirt. Hey, champion. Hey! Go Big Blue. Hey! Go Big Blue. Even a dog is excited. What a Super Bowl party. Was this a party or what? Go Big Blue. All right, you know what it is? Bill Rutherford brought us good luck this year. All of this, I got to put at the feet of Bill, the Batman Rutherford. Woo! Can you see the paper tomorrow? Belichick won't go over there?
No, he's walking it with the field.
Wow.
He's walking off the field with a base.
Wow.
Buy the record tomorrow. Who was walking off?
Belichick.
Woo!
They cannot believe
Hey, this is almost as exciting as Windy getting 5th place at the Nats. They got 1 second to go. They got to run out the clock.
The coaches always meet each other. When they're on the field, Belichick went to the locker room.
Boy, Bill Rutherford, eat your heart out, Bill.
this is the game of the century.
Bill, this might be the best Super Bowl ever. And thanks to Bill Rutherford, we had the time of our lives here.
I'd like to have that hat.
I got to buy one of them tomorrow. If Rutherford was a real man, he'd buy me one of them. Whoa.
Christy gave you
I'm getting up in the morning. I'll go to Sports Authority.
Go to Sports Authority and get a dozen hats. Well, we had special food all night. Jim made us, what'd you make? Pork chops and I don't even know what else. Shrimp on a roll and, but the best thing of all, we have cupcakes. Ooh, I gotta have one of these.
Wendy, this is yours.
I gotta have, these are Karen's cupcakes.
Yummy, yummy, yummy.
Oh, we gotta see the post-game show. Plexico was crying, Karen was crying,
Yeah.
Steffi was crying,
I had
Jim was
heartburn.
crying. Jim called the bookie and said the bookie died.
The Kerns hit the floor hard, boy. I'll tell you
How
that
much
one.
money did we make tonight?
28.
Absolutely nothing. I should have put my pay. I don't have any paycheck anymore. I should have. No one.
Nothing from
I should have
nothing.
put Karen's social security check on it.
My friend, that was my friend from the
Well, I've been to a lot of Super Bowl parties. Had a lot of parties myself, but this one, I hope Cufaro and Edamison and all the big football cheeseheads of the world enjoy sharing this moment with us. Unbelievable. And see that thing with the water? That's a tradition we in the world, a stunt. Every year we, Kent Ticer and I do that to somebody. The people that win.
Welcome to the Cattle Lake Super Bowl postgame show.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. You can't imagine. I want to just capture this moment. You can't imagine how much fun this was. What a great party.
Wow, I tell you, the Giants deserve this win. They outplayed the Patriots. Great defense, but offensively they did a great job of protecting the passer versus the blitz. Controlled the clock the first half, and then the second half in the critical play, they protected on the blitz, one-on-one coverage with Burns, got the touchdown.
12 plays, 83 yards, 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Eli Manning came of age tonight right before our very eyes. All right, forget the beginning of the season. I don't know if it's the beginning of the day.
Oh, years from now, we're going to look back at this memory. Boy, oh boy, this is a spectacular moment.
Let's send it up to the public address announcer, Alan Roach.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining four-time Super Bowl champion Terry Bradshaw, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, and the New York Giants, celebrating the 20th anniversary of his being named MVP
New York
of Super
Giants
Bowl
from New
22.
Jersey, Meadowlands.
Welcome.
Rutherford, New
Born
Jersey.
and raised in the Meadowlands.
Bill Rutherford pulled off the miracle of the century.
New Jersey Giants.
And I guess all the people that ever see this know about the scams we pulled on Bill and how much fun we had doing it. And I think Bill was watching over the Giants today.
I wouldn't argue with him if he's holding that trophy, whoever he is.
Oh, he's not letting it go. Look at this. Look at it, they're all touching it. All the Giants are touching it.
Who is he?
I can't tell.
He's probably the bodyguard of the trophy.
He looks like a big guy, too.
He certainly is.
Where's Strahan?
Here's the guy I'm happy for.
Strahan, Rutherford, New Jersey resident, lives within 3 blocks of my
You
house.
can walk to work.
Go walk to work, baby. Come on. Build us a flying field when you're not playing football, you
Where's
bums.
Mara?
Doug Williams.
On behalf of Fox, we'd like to thank the city of Glendale for a great show. Super Bowl 42.
Terry's all screamed out.
He's all screamed out. He might have been rude.
Trophy to the winning team of Super Bowl 42, the New York Giants Commissioner Roger Goodell. Commissioner.
The world expected a great game tonight, and you got an awesome game. Congratulations to the New York Giants organization, to the Mayer family, to the Tisch family, Coach Coughlin. It couldn't have gotten any better. Your third world championship, the New York Giants are once again world champs.
That's wrong. We're not the world champs. We're the American champs.
Steve, John, Steve.
Terry, you gotta stop screaming. Actually, Terry was the only one that picked the Giants all through the playoffs. Terry and Bill
The
Rutherford.
greatest victory in the history of this franchise, without a question. And I just want to say, all you Giant fans that have supported us for more than 30 years at Giant Stadium, for all those years at Yankee Stadium, and some of you even back to the Polo Grounds, this is for you.
There we go. A lot of blue in that.
This is a stand from the commissioner's office. All games will be played on the road next year. These guys played their hearts out all season. They were motivated by assistant coaches, and they were motivated and just praised and told by Tom Coughlin, they have heart, they have talent, and they're a team of winners. And we're here right now today because we play like a team, and we play for the city of New York and the New York Giant fans around the country. Congratulations. Coach Tom Coughlin, come in here.
It's New Jersey, you dippo, not New York.
This football team, I'm not going to coach, touch it, kiss it, whatever you want to do. This football team put on a defensive display tonight like no one has ever seen. Did you expect this to happen tonight against a football team that was undefeated?
Well, the New England Patriots are a great football team, and they really are. When we came in here, we knew what we had to do. We had to get after the quarterback, and the response we got out of our team was unbelievable. But these guys play with great heart. They're tough-minded. They never say die. They just keep coming. Wasn't all pretty out there tonight. Now we had a battle hard to get this thing. But I told them last night that other than family, the greatest feeling in the world is when all of a sudden you realize you're the world champion.
Well, Coach, you are a world champion. Congratulations. You deserve it. Eli Manning. Congratulations.
All right, Eli.
Your MVP, ladies and gentlemen, Eli.
MVP.
Wow! Peyton was the MVP last
Peyton was the MVP last
year.
year.
Tom Brady takes that football team down and scores. You're down a touchdown. All of a sudden, you take your team 83 yards in 12 plays. Was there ever any doubt that you could pull that off?
No, we believed in ourselves all year, and that's the position you want to be in. You want to have the ball in your hands, 4 minutes left to go down, you got to score a touchdown. You know, that's where you want to be, a chance to win the game, and you know, so many big plays on that drive. David Tyree, baby, that's all you got to say. David Tyree, huge catch. You know, Blacksco in the touchdown. Everybody stepped up, made huge plays. What a great win.
Well, look at his brother, Karen. His brother was up in the stands too.
Cadillac Escalade Hybrid, which will be coming out this fall. All right, this is yours, my friend. Enjoy.
Thank you very much. Fired up. Let's unlock this.
All right, where's Michael Strahan? Come here.
Michael Strahan. Michael lives in Rutherford too. Come on, all these Rutherford residents.
What made you believe that you could shut down the number one offense in the history of the National Football League?
You watch TV, we had a lot of free time. I remember hearing somebody say the Giants got a false sense of confidence from the first time we played.
That's right.
No, we got confidence. And you know what? My guys are the best in the world.
You bet, Michael.
How about taking this trophy and take it around the stadium and show it to the Giant fans? You got it. All right, Kurt, back to you, buddy.
A little space.
Steffi, to Steffley, you and Jim, I have to thank you again. This was a
wonderful Super Bowl party.
I'll remember this party. And there's a famous line I always use. I will treasure it always.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
What a night.
And
We
we'll
really
treasure
did have a great night.
We'll treasure it too.